Chapter 12:11 Invincible Great Saint? The girl in red looked around, trying to capture the source of oppression, but felt the vastness of the world beyond her gaze. Infinite void has been inherited for endless ages, experienced by successive cultivators, with some even cultivating it to the fifth layer, reaching the power to overlook the entire chaos void as an invincible great saint. The girl in red was well aware of the pressure of an invincible great saint, but compared to this moment, it still seemed slightly inferior. What is going on? The girl in red kept observing, her thoughts spreading, and her first thought was whether Lin Yuan had become an invincible great saint, but she immediately dismissed it. First, because Lin Yuan wasn't even in the chaos realm, so how could he talk of being an invincible great saint? Secondly, the internal universe she sensed had not undergone more intricate microscopic restructuring. It was evident that the third layer of infinite void was not yet accomplished. In this situation, the girl in red was curious about what means Lin Yuan used to produce a transformation that even made her feel oppressively transformed. Did he master the second 13th grade inheritance? Mastery here is not an entry point but like infinite void, at least trained to the fifth layer. But this is equally as difficult as ascending to the heavens. A 13th grade inheritance is not a roadside cabbage, easily mastered. Each 13th grade inheritance has numerous preconditions. This point is evident from how many years Lin Yuan has cultivated infinite void, still remaining at the second layer. Moreover, the girl in red faintly felt that the oppression she captured at this moment was definitely not due to the power transformation from mastering some inheritance. This pressure is related to the transformation of life's essence or the compensation of one's Tao, like the ultimate leap of an 11th grade life into the 12th grade, or the utmost sublimation of one's Tao, etc. The giant egg composed of chaos rule veins was momentarily crumbling, and a large amount of intertwined black and white power overflowed, converging before Lin Yuan. Is this the chaotic power path that I have evolved? Lin Yuan gazed at the black and white forces before him, feeling both familiar and strange. This was an entirely new rule of power he'd never mastered, yet Lin Yuan had an illusion of having it innately. A large amount of black and white power continuously intertwined and fused. Each thread of black and white power contained the vast rule essence Lin Yuan mastered, and finally, as the chaos giant egg completely shattered, all the black and white power finally converged, forming a black and white cross Tai Chi diagram. The white part contained endless Taiyang power, supremely rigid and yang. The black part was circulating with the perpetual flow of Tai-Yin power, grand and vast. The balance between Tai-Yin and Taiyang power formed a perfect equilibrium, fusing and differentiating at every moment. Boom! Lin Yuan looked at the Tai Chi diagram before him, feeling his consciousness was roaring. In the moment the Tai Chi diagram took shape, a miniature Taiji diagram imprint appeared on Lin Yuan's brow. Not only this cosmic embodiment within but the true self outside, and the primordial spirit embodiments throughout the chaos void, all gathered a Taiji diagram imprint at the brow. Chaos Taiji? Lin Yuan's gaze became unprecedentedly distant and profound. The black and white intersecting Tai Chi diagram before his eyes instantly expanded countless times, merging with his entire internal universe. Lin Yuan's internal universe was measured by trillions of light-years, yet the expansion and complete coverage of the Tai Chi diagram took no more than an instant, just Lin Yuan's mere thought, and the Tai Chi diagram had already completed its fusion. Instant arrival upon thought. The moment the boundless Tai Chi diagram merged with the internal universe began to undergo some transformation. Space-time was becoming increasingly perfect, the Tao rules were rapidly being enhanced, and the size of the internal universe started to expand crazily. Why is the evolution of the chaos power path within the chaos void termed a great saint if not a venerable? Because the power of a chaos great saint far surpasses that of a chaos venerable. This supremacy is all-encompassing, deriving from the evolved chaos power path. The chaos great saint who evolves the chaos power path will be nourished by the chaos power path in every aspect. Their physical body, soul, spirit, will, and internal universe will all receive a massive uplift. At this moment, although Lin Yuan is not perfectly in the chaos realm, the chaotic Taiji Tao has been smoothly evolved, naturally bringing about a comprehensive transformation and uplift to himself. The changes in the internal universe were immediately perceived by the girl in red. This change, the heart of the girl in red was shaken. The change in the internal universe at this moment was not the kind of transformation practiced by Infinite Void. Infinite Void essentially involves the reorganization of the most microscopic parts of the internal universe. Similar to carbon turning into a diamond, the particle compositions of both remain the same. But the transformation of the internal universe at hand is the most direct degree of transformation, from 1 to 2 to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000. Everything is sublimating and transforming, as if ascending with the rising sun into the sky. Chaos Evolution Power Path. Has the Chaos Evolution Power Path been realized? At this moment, the girl in red finally speculated on key information. The means to cause the internal universe to undergo such a change are not many, especially such a dramatic transformation in a short time, only a few, such as entering the Chaos Realm or evolving a Chaos Power Path. Exactly what kind of Chaos Power Path was evolved to cause such a commotion? The girl in red took a deep breath. She was very aware of Lin Yuan's talent and aptitude, and did not doubt the new master evolving the Chaos Power Path. But now, the magnitude of the internal universe's uplift, and the immense pressure she felt, caused her perception to question. Chapter 12:12. What kind of chaotic evolutionary path exhibits such power just in its nascent stage? Outside, deep within the chaos continent of the galaxy, Lin Yuan was deeply immersed in his comprehensive transformation, feeling the impact of the chaotic Taiji Dao on him, like a giant pillar supporting everything. The Tai Chi diagram mark on Lin Yuan's brow slowly rotated, with an inexplicable ripple centered on him, spreading in all directions, toward heaven and earth, toward the chaos void. Is this imprinting my Dao into this chaos void? Lin Yuan considered thoughtfully. The birth of any chaos great saint would undergo this process, imprinting their Dao onto chaos. It's also a kind of anchor point, a Dao beacon. Lin Yuan did not interfere. Imprinting one's Dao into chaos connected with the chaos void, and such a connection could have some effects even if one fell into a time loop. Whether imprinting one's Dao into chaos or spreading the paths of one's evolution, the goal is to establish anchor points, Dao beacons. But to break through the time loop, it mainly falls on oneself. These methods at most provide auxiliary effects. However, for Lin Yuan, he would certainly not pass up any means to aid in breaking through the time loop, striving to elevate external conditions to the highest before addressing anything else. The chaotic Taiji Dao swiftly merged into the boundless void. At that moment, special entities in various hidden places within the chaos void seemed to sense something, gazing distantly towards the direction of the chaos continent of the galaxy. Is a chaos great saint being born, imprinting their Dao into chaos? A new path of chaotic evolutionary power is being born. But is this really a newly born path of chaotic power? How is it much more terrifying than some peerless great saints? The special entities were somewhat incredulous. As special entities, they are mostly related to the 13th realm, like the Eye of Myriad Laws or spirits of various mysterious places, etc. Their ancientness bore witness to the rise and fall of many chaos great saints, peerless great saints, and even invincible great saints. Usually, the imprinting of one's Dao by a chaos great saint would not draw their attention. But now, as the chaotic Taiji Dao continued to diffuse and imprint, the whole chaos void was undergoing some subtle and significant changes, which shocked many special entities. It's the Galaxy Great Saint, who not long ago suppressed several other Chaos Great Saints in the Shenhuang universe. At that time, the power of the Galaxy Great Saint was only near that of a peerless Great Saint. Immediately, a special entity recognized Lin Yuan, the severed long blade. This Galaxy Great Saint must have cultivated the 13th realm legacy representing foundational heritage, which allowed sweeping over other Chaos Great Saints without having evolved a path of chaotic power. That legacy? Truly remarkable. But reaching near peerless Great Saint without evolving a path of chaotic power, and now evolving such a formidable path of chaotic power, isn't that directly a peerless Great Saint? The special entities communicated amongst themselves. With their long-lived experiences, they showed little interest in ordinary great saints. However, An invincible great saint? Only one emerges after a long cosmic era. Every invincible great saint leaves a unique imprint in the chaos void, naturally earning a high regard from these special entities. Especially an unconventional invincible great saint like Lin Yuan, just evolved a path of chaotic power, already deemed an invincible great saint. This kind of elevation and transformation might not have happened since the inception of the chaos void. This galaxy great saint, as long as nothing unexpected happens, growing smoothly, can rank among the top 5, or even top 3, of all invincible great saints in the history of our chaos void. A special entity expressed with astonishment. The condition for the birth of an invincible great saint is to sweep across all great saints of the era, earning the respect and submission of numerous great saints. Thus, two invincible great saints theoretically would not face each other to determine victory. However, in the hearts of many special entities, they still ranked the previously born invincible great saints, but without exception, Lin Yuan's current performance, even among invincible great saints, was extraordinarily dazzling, even unfathomable. Galaxy Great Saint? Amidst numerous special entities, the eye of myriad laws was filled with emotion. Long convinced that Lin Yuan at the very least would become an invincible great saint, but this day came so soon, and growing smoothly in the future, ranking among the top 5 or even top 3 of all invincible great saints in the history of the Chaos Void. Don't underestimate this top 5 or top 3. The Chaos Void has nurtured countless freakish and monstrous beings over endless ages, and ranking among the top 5 or top 3 is quite extraordinary. This includes some special periods when 13th realm time entities took personal interest and cultivated disciples themselves, etc. Deep within the chaos continent of the galaxy, after evolving a path of chaotic power, Lin Yuan's perception significantly enhanced. Noticing subtle feelings of being watched the moment, he imprinted his Tao into chaos. Is it those special entities? Lin Yuan did not pay much attention, regarding the Moyu Tower Master or Shenhuang as merely being wary of those special entities. Fear? Absolutely none. For these special entities cannot actively take action. As long as you don't provoke them, there will be no issues, and even if provoked, their backing 13th realm time entities may not necessarily pay attention. My current strength. Lin Yuan collected his thoughts. After the intense initial transformation, his pace of improvement gradually slowed, though even this slower pace was one that ordinary Chaos Great Saints could not potentially rival. The extent of enhancement from a Chaos Great Saint evolving a path of chaotic power depends on the path itself. Most Chaos Great Saints' paths differ slightly, making their enhancements similar. But Lin Yuan? The prerequisite requirement for the evolution of the chaotic Taiji Dao light comprehension of the second realm was already beyond reach for nearly all Chaos Great Saints. This second realm peak here solely refers to Lin Yuan, but for other beings, without against heaven's understanding, one must reach the third realm. Inner universe. Beside the jade gourd, a girl in red stood, feeling the changes in each instant of the space-time great Tao, momentarily at a loss for words. Lin Yuan's figure coalesced beside her, smiling as he looked at the girl in red. What kind of chaotic power path did you evolve? The girl in red couldn't resist asking. What kind of chaotic power path? Lin Yuan pondered briefly, then said, I call it Chaos Taiji. The moment he finished speaking, the girl in red saw Lin Yuan raise his right hand, with black and white interwoven breaths swirling, although only at the fingertips, yet its influence radiated through layers of spacetime. Chaos Taiji? This should be the strongest path of chaotic power I have seen. The girl in red added hastily after speaking, as if struck by a thought. Except for the old master. In her words, the old master naturally referred to the creator of the infinite void, that 13th realm time entity. Certainly, I cannot compare with the great time entities. Lin Yuan smiled and shook his head. The more he cultivated, the more he felt the gap with the 13th realm. Lin Yuan, comprehending the 13th realm weapon sky void tripod, experiencing the retained imprints within, knew a trace of power from a 13th realm time entity could utterly destroy myriad void domains. Is there any eternal gold left? Lin Yuan looked at the girl in red and asked. Eternal gold is a special metal material used specifically to measure the strength of one's inner universe. Previously, when Lin Yuan cultivated to around the second layer of infinite void, he measured the level of his inner universe with this metal. There are still some. The girl in red nodded. Why do you need eternal gold? With a faint smile, Lin Yuan calmly replied, I want to know how strong I am now. Chapter 12:13. Lin Yuan and the various heavenly venerates. Lin Yuan, having evolved the chaotic Taiji Dao, was very sure that his strength had completely surpassed that of a transcendent great saint. Yet, whether he had reached the level of an invincible great saint remained uncertain. The gap between a transcendent great saint and an invincible great saint was vast. In those years, the Shenhuang could easily drive the great Saint Hunshao and Jade Qilin great saint, such transcendent great saints, to a dead end, finally forcing them to reincarnate. Even among the 6 ancient countries of the origin world, the strongest venerables who were comparable to the invincible great saints, such as the Fusu Venerate, were far superior to the topmost peak venerables. Before the Fusu Venerate, Lin Yuan didn't even have the chance to fight back, only passively enduring the blows, as the power and methods mastered by the opponent were far beyond what Lin Yuan could handle. So now, Lin Yuan was very curious about his own strength. Was he close to being an invincible great saint, or had he completely stepped into the realm of the invincible great saint? Want to know how strong you are? The girl in red slightly twitched the corner of her mouth upon hearing this. If she weren't so clear about Lin Yuan's character, and knowing this inheritor of the infinite void had just undergone a transformation, she would have doubted the truth of his words. Okay. The girl in red nodded, then flipped her hand. Instantly, the jade gourd trembled slightly, and a piece of eternal essence gold, about hundreds of meters large, flew out, hovering in front of Lin Yuan. Penetrate this piece of eternal essence gold, and you probably possess the strength of the 5th layer of the infinite void, the girl in red said. The infinite void has 7 layers in total, with the 7th being a theoretical level, while the 5th layer, normally, cultivating the 13th level legacy to the 5th layer would grant one the strength to traverse the chaos void and become an invincible great saint. As for the 6th layer, few cultivators of the infinite void have reached the 6th layer. Penetrate. Lin Yuan looked at the eternal essence gold in front of him. The 2nd layer threshold of the infinite void requires leaving a trace over 10 centimeters deep on the eternal essence gold. But the 5th layer requires penetrating a piece of eternal essence gold hundreds of meters large. A significant difference indeed. Russell. The power of the inner universe circulated, with a magnificent black and white Tai Chi diagram faintly appearing and disappearing. The 100-meter large eternal essence gold in front of Lin Yuan quickly twisted and disintegrated. Within a single breath, the entire piece of eternal essence gold was pierced through, with the remaining parts continually collapsing. Such power! The girl in red took a deep breath. She almost didn't feel any power fluctuations. Yet the eternal essence gold was pierced through, indicating a complete restraint of power. This meant that Lin Yuan hadn't used his full power. Once he strikes with full force, it would be challenging to perfectly contain all the power. Your inner universe now has reached the level of the 5th layer of the infinite void. No, it's approaching the 6th layer. Your strength has fully stepped into the realm of the invincible great saint. The girl in red quickly said, while looking somewhat distressed at the pierced-through eternal essence gold. The eternal essence gold, left by the creator of the infinite void, is limited, and usually the girl in red would only take out a meter or 2 at most. If Lin Yuan's strength weren't so terrifying, she wouldn't have brought out such a large piece. Invincible great saint? Lin Yuan steadied his mind, at the same time thinking of the Shenhuang and the Moyu Tower Master. When his own homeland universe was so weak, he knew of these 2 absolute powerhouses, and now, he finally reached their level of strength. Certainly, the Shenhuang finally forcefully broke free from the time loop, surpassing the boundary of the 12th level, no longer within the normal level range. What do you plan to do next? The girl in red retracted the eternal essence gold, asked curiously. First, finish cultivating the 3rd layer of the infinite void, Lin Yuan said. He had been cultivating the third layer for a long time, and evolving into the chaotic Taiji Dao had led to a profound transformation of his inner universe, greatly advancing the cultivation of this 13th level legacy. The third layer of the infinite void? The girl in red looked at Lin Yuan, suddenly realizing that this inheritor hadn't yet finished the third layer of the infinite void. Having such strength without completing the third layer, if he completes the third layer, how many layers will that compare to? The sixth layer? After chatting with the girl in red for a few more sentences, Lin Yuan began wholeheartedly cultivating the third layer of the infinite void. The cultivation of this 13th level legacy is essentially a micro-physical restructuring and reorganization of the inner universe, which is much easier under the control of the chaotic Taiji Dao. Plus, Lin Yuan had already cultivated halfway through the third layer of the infinite void. Therefore, it only took 1 or 2 years. The inner universe of Lin Yuan underwent another transformation. On the infinite micro level, the structure of the inner universe was becoming perfectly complete. The third layer is completed. Lin Yuan opened his eyes, overlooking the vast inner universe. Not to mention how stable the space-time Dao rules of this universe were, simply its diameter size, having gone through 2 transformations, first evolving into the chaotic Taiji Dao, and then completing the third layer of the infinite void. Lin Yuan's inner universe reached 500 trillion light-years. 500 trillion light-years, far surpassing the naturally born universe within the chaos void. Even among transcendent great saints, having such a large inner universe is extremely rare. This is still based on the premise that Lin Yuan's inner universe isn't specialized in size or area. I suppose my current strength could be considered strong among the invincible great saints? Lin Yuan thought to himself. The chaos void is different from the origin world, where the invincible great saints are solitary, not easily comparable. Continue cultivating. Lin Yuan took out the second layer weapon, the sky void tripod, pondering the endless rules and great Tao contained within it, while the cosmos within his flesh and soul body continued to elevate until it reached its growth limit. At that time, it would be when Lin Yuan crosses into the chaos realm. Fang Yuan world. In the treasured land. Lin Yuan opened his eyes, feeling the explosive growth of his own strength. By developing a path of chaos power, mastering the third layer of infinite void, his true self's inherent potential in this Fang Yuan world also experienced a significant enhancement. The space-time suppression in this treasured land can no longer restrict me. Lin Yuan observed the surrounding space-time. The newly emerged treasured land, connected to the origin source of Fang Yuan world, produces extremely strong space-time suppression, which greatly reduces the range of investigation of heavenly venerate-level experts, and equally plummets the distance of space-time traversal. A peak venerable wishing to traverse the entire treasured land can't rely solely on their own power. It would take considerable time, and only someone like Fu Su Venerate, the strongest venerable, could traverse the treasured land in a single breath. But now, Lin Yuan had already realized that the space-time suppression of this treasured land couldn't contain him, meaning Lin Yuan could also traverse the entire treasured land in a single breath, just like Fu Su Venerate. Even more swiftly. Fu Su Venerate? Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly, looking towards a direction. That was the location where the first giant core pillar emerged, and back then Lin Yuan was just beside it, having the earliest opportunity to refine the giant core pillar. However, this opportunity was seized by the later arriving Fu Su Venerate. At that time, Lin Yuan had no ability to resist in front of Fu Su Venerate and was directly slapped away. In the capital of the fierce sun ancient country, an independent space. Everyone, next we must face the strong of other ancient countries to seize the core pillars head-on. Red Flame Venerable spoke gravely. Having been in the treasured land for over 1,000 years, by now most of the unmastered core pillars have been refined by the strong of various ancient countries. To continue refining more core pillars now, one must snatch those already refined pillars from other ancient countries. Okay. No problem. Qi Yen, who do you plan to strike first? The Peak Venerables nodded. They had long been prepared, entering the treasured land 1,000 years ago. That was the warm-up. The mutual scrambles between ancient country powers were just superficial engagements. In the 500 years after the millennium, the intensity of scrambles would rapidly increase, and the last 500 years would be the period of fiercest competition, during which all peak venerables would exert their full effort, and the heritage weapons of various ancient countries would be unleashed. Red Flame Venerable nodded, suddenly looking at Lin Yuan, softly inquiring, "Galaxy, what do you think?" As one of the only 4 top peak venerables in this fierce sun ancient country, Red Flame Venerable regarded Galaxy Venerate with importance. "What do you think?" Lin Yuan was slightly taken aback, pondered, and then said, "Could we wait a while longer?" "Wait a while longer?" Red Flame Venerable was puzzled. The other numerous peak venerables were also slightly surprised. "Why wait a while longer?" "I plan to." Lin Yuan grinned and said, "Take back that giant core pillar." Giant core pillar. One by one, the peak venerables of Defu ancient country sat cross-legged. The importance of the giant core pillar was too high. Even though it had been refined by Fusu Venerate, other strong of Defu ancient country would also send a main battle physical body to guard at all times, to respond to any variables. Ha ha ha! In this competition for the treasured land, our Defu ancient country occupies 72 refined core pillars, plus this set of giant core pillars, making a total of 82. Leading the second place barbaric wilderness country by nearly 30 core pillars. The many peak venerables of Defu ancient country were relaxed, now that their country had an absolute advantage, even if the 2 giant core pillars that emerge later fall into the hands of a single ancient country. The number of refined core pillars occupied couldn't surpass Defu ancient country. Moreover, the probability of the 2 giant core pillars falling into the hands of one ancient country is too low. Even Defu ancient country wasn't confident, let alone other ancient countries. Still relying on Fusu Venerate, if it weren't for Fusu Venerate, this giant core pillar would have probably fallen into the hands of Fierce Sun ancient country. Indeed, that Galaxy Venerate of Fierce Sun ancient country sure was lucky, with the giant core pillar descending right next to him. If not for Fusu Venerate's supreme strength, TSK, what good is luck? Didn't Fusu Venerate still slap him away? The peak venerables of Defu ancient country casually conversed. As one of the oldest ancient countries, they had a subtle superiority when facing same-tier experts from other ancient countries, even when facing someone like Galaxy Venerate, the first to excavate ancestral bloodline to the Venerate level. What is an ancestral bloodline at the Venerate level worth? At this moment, a young man appeared near this giant core pillar. The young man had a faint black and white Taiji diagram mark on his forehead, the black and white aura swirling, appearing openly in the sight of all the stationed peak venerables of Defu ancient country. He just stood there quietly, without any words or actions. Yet it made many of the peak venerables of Defu ancient country's hearts tremble, regardless of strength. Whether top peak venerables or ordinary ones, all felt their minds unsettled, feeling suffocated. Chapter 12:14. Those who block the galaxy, body and soul shattered. Fierce Sun capital, isolated space. Red Flame Venerable stared blankly at Lin Yuan. The eyes of the other peak venerables were similar, looking at Lin Yuan with incredulity. Take back the giant core column? Currently, that giant core column has been occupied and refined by Fusu Venerate, the strongest venerable of the 6 ancient nations. With a single thought he could descend. Moreover, beside the giant core column, there must be other peak venerables of the Defu ancient nation guarding with their main battle bodies. Even if the Fierce Sun ancient country were to throw everything against Defu ancient country, using all ancient country weapons, the chance of taking down that giant core column is extremely low. Let alone Lin Yuan going there alone. Galaxy, do not be impulsive, Red Flame Venerable immediately said. Fusu Venerate's strength is unfathomable. He has the ability to kill top-tier peak venerables. Previously, Lin Yuan was able to survive against Fusu Venerate because the strongest venerable focused most of his attention on refining the giant core pillar, not paying attention to Lin Yuan, just smacking him away without any follow-up. But now, if Lin Yuan dares to go alone to that giant core column, Fusu Venerate would surely not mind taking action. Strictly speaking, the Fierce Sun ancient country, for the Defu ancient country, is also a threat. Being able to eliminate a top-tier peak venerable ahead of time would be very advantageous for the Defu ancient country. I know Fusu Venerate is very strong. Lin Yuan nodded. The strongest venerables of the 6 ancient nations are comparable to the invincible great saints of the Chaos Void. This level of powerhouse either possesses absolute overwhelming advantages, such as mastering the 5th layer of Infinite Void Invincible Great Saint, whose internal universe compared to the same level Great Saint is not just 1,000 times stronger. Or they grasp special rule means like Fusu venerates chaotic time techniques. Ordinary top-tier peak venerables can only passively take the hit. Rest assured, since I dare to go, I must have confidence. Lin Yuan looked at the numerous peak venerables. I've had a slight breakthrough in my power. I should not be weaker than Fusu venerate. As soon as these words were spoken, Red Flame Venerable and other Fierce Sun Ancient Country Peak Venerables were shocked. Not weaker than Fusu venerate? Isn't that the level of the strongest venerable? Galaxy Venerate has already reached this realm? Red Flame Venerable and other peak venerables found it hard to believe. Galaxy Venerate's ancestral bloodline excavated to the venerable level. If in an immensely distant future, when one's venerable level bloodline grows to the limit. Reaching the level of the strongest venerable is still hopeful. But how long after Lin Yuan stepped into the heavenly venerable realm? Though Red Flame Venerables found it somewhat unbelievable, looking at Lin Yuan's expressions and tone, they chose to trust. Galaxy Venerate, why don't you wait a bit longer? Until I arrive? Although my power is not comparable to Fusu Venerate, I carry numerous foundation weaponry, enough to restrain and counter that Fusu Venerate. Red Flame Venerate immediately said. If Lin Yuan's strength truly isn't weaker than Fusu Venerate, and their Fierce Sun Ancient Country deployed fully, there really is a great chance to take down that giant core column. No need. Lin Yuan immediately refused. This time, with his breakthrough in strength, he indeed has the thought of redeeming himself and retaking the giant core column. But there's no need to bring out all the trump cards and foundation of Fierce Sun Ancient Country, which are reserved for the last few hundred or even decades of the contest over treasure lands. All right. Red Flame Venerate nodded, not insisting. He believed Lin Yuan must have a plan. Outside the giant core column, the air of heaven and earth felt like a quagmire, with black and white energies swirling. If viewed from millions of miles above, one would find at this moment, centered on the giant core column, a massive black and white yin-yang tai chi diagram slowly forming. Peak venerables from Defu Ancient Country couldn't help but feel suffocated. They looked at Lin Yuan with extreme solemnity, as if facing a formidable enemy. As the instinct of the strong, they realized that the young man far away was terrifying, just by standing there without any aura emitted, made their numerous peak venerables' hearts tremble. What kind of power is this? Galaxy Venerate. Is he the Galaxy Venerate from Fierce Sun Ancient Country? Some peak venerables from Defu Ancient Country recognized Lin Yuan. In fact, other venerables also simultaneously recognized Lin Yuan, but had no time to think deeply. Galaxy Venerate, be quick to leave. This is my Defu Ancient Country's territory. Fuyu Venerate said solemnly, putting most of his focus around. He felt Galaxy Venerate dared to appear here must have a certain confidence. Perhaps other top-tier peak venerables from Fierce Sun Ancient Country are ambushing nearby. That oppressive aura making their hearts shiver might be sourced from here? Is it? Lin Yuan looked distantly at that imposing giant core column, smiling and said, if you yield this pillar now, you can live. Yield the pillar? Fuyu Venerate stared at Lin Yuan. There's always been only Defu Ancient Country treating other ancient countries like this. Since when does Fierce Sun Ancient Country dare treat Defu Ancient Country this way? Galaxy Venerate, let me come and meet you. At this point, Fuyun Venerable stepped out, looked at Lin Yuan with cold eyes. Fuyun Venerable is Defu Ancient Country's top-tier peak venerable. In terms of strength, he's by no means weaker than Lin Yuan before his breakthrough. Rumble. Time and space around Fuyun Venerable transformed into clouds, rapidly enveloping toward Lin Yuan. This is also Fuyun Venerable's attack method. Using clouds to erode enemies, even top-tier peak venerables of the same class must be suppressed by these layers of clouds. Fuyu Venerate and other peak venerables merely watched coldly, not taking action themselves. Chapter 12:15. In the eyes of the peak venerable of the Defu Ancient Country, The fact that the Galaxy Venerate dared to appear here certainly means he has confidence and backup, most likely from other peak venerables of the Fierce Sun ancient country. To deal with the Galaxy Venerate, Fuyun Venerate is enough. The attention of Fuyu Venerate and the other peak venerables should be on the other peak venerables of the Fierce Sun ancient country lurking around. Is it Qi Yan and the others who have used the ultimate weapon? Fuyu Venerate wondered to himself, becoming more cautious. Under normal circumstances, the ultimate weapon of a great ancient country would surely be kept for last. Firstly, the real killer move should be used at a critical moment. Secondly, the ultimate weapon is incredibly precious, and using it means having less of it. The ultimate weapon is reserved for the end, used based on the final situation. If there is hope to seize the treasured land, naturally the ultimate weapon can be used. If there is no hope to seize the treasured land, naturally there is no need to continue the investment and effort. But who knows what the Fierce Sun ancient country is thinking? In case they plan to use the ultimate weapon now, Fuyu Venerate must consider this extreme scenario. Galaxy Venerate, I've long wanted to see you. Fuyun Venerate manipulated a large mass of clouds, intending to crush towards Lin Yuan. This move is a killer move specifically for strong opponents of the same level, first suppressing with clouds, then eroding. However, Fuyun Venerate suddenly found his vision empty, only a terrifying convergence and collision of the black and white yin-yang colors engulfing him, their ominous aura making him feel despair.
No.
Fuyun Venerate did not have time to react before his physical body, soul, mind, and will swiftly collapsed and perished. Whoosh! Lin Yuan raised his hand and collected the weapon Fuyun Venerate left behind. Silence. The fall of Fuyun Venerate plunged all the peak venerables of the Defu ancient country into complete silence. Even though the fallen body of Fuyun Venerate was just a main battle body and not his complete death, it still sent chills down the spines of the other peak venerables. After collecting Fuyun Venerate's weapon, Lin Yuan glanced at the last position where he stood. Facing me? You still dare to be distracted? Exactly. Lin Yuan could clearly feel that even though Fuyun Venerate attacked him, he still had a small part of his attention focused on the surroundings. Not only did Fuyu Venerate believe the Fierce Sun ancient country's peak venerables were ambushing nearby, but Fuyun Venerate also thought so, which naturally meant he wasn't fully focused on Lin Yuan. Of course, even though Fuyun Venerate was distracted, he was still a top peak venerable. However, being instantly killed by Lin Yuan was still somewhat unbelievable. Is my chaotic Taiji Dao so powerful, even at just the first level? Lin Yuan pondered to himself. Facing the numerous peak venerables of the Defu ancient country, naturally, he did not dare hold back, directly using the Chaos Taiji power. This power! Fuyu Venerate's heart trembled. The path of chaos power he evolved was very special and could slightly see the cause of Fuyun Venerate's death, a continually intertwining, colliding force of black and white yin and yang, ultimately shattering everything of Fuyun Venerate. Do not get distracted. Attack the Galaxy Venerate with all your might. Fuyu Venerate immediately commanded the other peak venerables. At this moment, he vaguely realized that the Galaxy Venerate dared to appear here, perhaps not due to external support, but his own strength. Fuyun, a top peak venerable, instantly fell to the Galaxy Venerate? How strong is this Galaxy Venerate? The peak venerables of the Defu ancient country felt uneasy, but none of them thought of fleeing. The giant core heavenly pillar was right behind them. Who dared to flee? And the fact that the Galaxy Venerate could kill Fuyun Venerate doesn't mean he could do the same to them, especially since the numerous peak venerables were already highly prepared for this. How has this Galaxy Venerate's strength increased so much? Among the peak venerables of the Defu ancient country, Fudang Venerate also stared intently at Lin Yuan, looking shocked. Upon first entering the treasured land, Fudang Venerate once tried to seize the core heavenly pillar discovered by Red Lotus Venerable. Then Lin Yuan arrived and completely took down one of his main battle bodies. At that time, Lin Yuan's oppression on Fudang Venerate was significant but not as insurmountable as now. Form the battle formation. Just as Fuyu Venerate's words fell, the remaining 10 peak venerables of the Defu ancient country connected faintly. wisps of chaos chi swirling, incorporating the power of all the peak venerables into a grand cycle. The application of chaos rule? Lin Yuan scrutinized the scene. Back in the battlefield between the Qingfen domain and the Purple Dream domain, Lin Yuan had discovered that the war machines of various ancient countries could completely fuse the power of thousands or even tens of thousands of different strong warriors into one. The fundamental reason was that the chaos rule governed all forces. And at this moment, the power of 10 peak venerables, including 5 top peak venerables, was completely integrated into a grand cycle, surging forward and crushing everything. This was done by leveraging the chaos rule, even surpassing the essence of the chaos third realm. After all, wanting to fully integrate the power of 10 peak venerables was not something easily accomplished. Galaxy Venerate, take this strike of mine. Fu Dang Venerate felt an unprecedented strength, as his aura merged with the other 4 peak venerables, becoming even stronger than ordinary top peak venerables. Together with the other 4 top peak venerables, forming a cycle, he felt that nothing in the world could block him. Only strength. Lin Yuan silently observed Fu Dang Venerate. At the same time, he raised his hand and pointed a finger, strands of black and white yin-yang taiji power extending from his fingertip towards Fu Dang Venerate. Boom! An invisible space-time barrier suddenly formed on Fu Dang Venerate's body surface, a protection from the other 9 venerables' power. Yet Lin Yuan's finger tore through everything, the universe turning into 2 colors, black and white, filled with yin-yang taiji. In an instant, the black and white yin-yang taiji power pierced through the space-time barrier, obliterating Fu Dang Venerate's body and soul instantly. Not only that, the remaining black and white yin-yang taiji power continued to extend towards the other 9 peak venerables along the invisible connections. Not good. Fu Yu Venerate's expression changed drastically, immediately severing the connection with the other peak venerables. The 4 top peak venerables also severed the connection promptly, but the remaining 4 peak venerables reacted a bit slower, touched by the black and white yin-yang taiji power, causing their bodies and souls to start collapsing and disappearing. In a short time, in just a few breaths, originally 11 peak venerables of the Defu ancient country fell, 6 of them, leaving only 5. Galaxy Venerate, what exactly is your strength now? Fu Yu Venerate felt a chill, staring straight at Lin Yuan, seemingly with some speculation, yet unwilling to voice it. Those who block me shall die. Lin Yuan didn't bother to speak further, striding towards the massive core celestial pillar. Fu Yu Venerate and other top peak venerables exchanged looks, their auras once again merging together. Stop him. Fu Yu Venerate gritted his teeth, his inner aura beginning to boil, clearly using various desperate combat techniques. The other 4 top peak venerables did the same, for the massive core celestial pillar behind them was claimed and refined by the Defu ancient country, crucial not just for being a pillar, but also representing dignity and respect. If outsiders still occupied and plundered it under the guard of their numerous peak venerables, it would be a massive blow to the exceptionally proud Defu venerables. Boom, boom, boom. 5 top peak venerables of the Defu ancient country launched an all-out attack on Lin Yuan. At this moment, the 5 top peak venerables appeared frenzied, using all sorts of desperate measures, causing the heavenly path to retreat quickly, vanishing, while the surrounding space-time turned into a black hole with rules not existing. Lin Yuan frowned slightly, halting his steps. Under the desperate measures of the top peak venerables, he couldn't completely ignore them, especially when these 5 top peak venerables used terrifying methods stemming from the ancient Defu ancient country. After a breath, 1 top peak venerable was shattered by Lin Yuan with a slap. Half a breath later, another top peak venerable was crushed under Lin Yuan's foot. In just 3 to 4 breaths, all 5 top peak venerables were annihilated one by Lin Yuan. And at this moment, Lin Yuan had just arrived in front of the massive core celestial pillar. Before this, those who block the galaxy shall lose both body and soul. Chapter 12:16. Lin Yuan and Fu Su Heavenly Venerate. A giant core pillar? Lin Yuan looked at the towering pillar before him, his heart stirring with slight ripples. The last time he was here, this giant core pillar had just been born. At that time, he was both joyful and anxious, worried about being unable to protect the giant core pillar. The truth was indeed so, even though he took no more than a tenth of a breath to refine the giant core pillar. But afterwards, Fu Su Venerate arrived, seizing it with just a slap. And now, Lin Yuan once again stood before this giant core pillar. Unlike last time, this time Lin Yuan felt no anxiety or worry. Fu Su Venerate. Lin Yuan quietly looked at the giant core pillar for a moment, then suddenly spoke. Haven't you seen enough? Wow. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure clothed in dark robes materialized. It was indeed Fu Su Venerate. Lin Yuan glanced at Fu Su Venerate without any surprise. In fact, at the moment when Fu Yun Venerable died, Lin Yuan already sensed Fu Su Venerate's presence. From that moment, the strongest Venerate had been keenly observing him. Later, many Peak Venerable fell to Lin Yuan, yet Fu Su Venerate did not make a move. Why did the last 5 top Peak Venerable, including Fu Yun Venerable, fight to the death without retreating? One reason was the dignity and face of the Fu ancient country. The other was likely Fu Su Venerate's secret command. Remarkable. Fu Su Venerate looked at Lin Yuan seriously, his tone slightly in awe. He indeed arrived early but didn't engage. The reason being, he wanted to see Lin Yuan's power and techniques. As for the 11 Fu ancient country Peak Venerable that fell, only their main combat forms perished, not complete obliteration. If using these 11 main combat forms as the price to probe Lin Yuan's true capabilities is worthwhile for Fu Su Venerate. Your power seems to arise from the chaotic power path you've developed, a path that surpasses the 13th tier legacy? Remarkable, truly remarkable. Fu Su Venerate wasn't without gains, speaking rather unsteadily right now. Normally, his status as the strongest Venerate is due to mastering one or several 13th tier secret techniques. As for the chaotic power path developed, it's not primary, unable to compare to 13th tier power. But Lin Yuan reversed this, or rather, did not entirely reverse. Fu Su Venerate also noticed Lin Yuan cultivated a certain 13th tier secret technique, but the enhancement it provided was not superior to the chaotic power path he developed. In the exploration of 13th tier secret techniques, I am not as good as you. Lin Yuan smiled at Fu Su Venerate. Fu Su Venerate, hearing this, remained silent. This giant core pillar was refined by me first. Fu Su Venerate, you've had it for quite a while. Shouldn't it be returned? Lin Yuan continued. This time, his purpose here was to reclaim the giant core pillar. Of course, if Fu Su Venerate's power is too overwhelming, beyond Lin Yuan's capacity to handle, it is not necessary to retrieve it. Return it. Fu Su Venerate remained silent. If other top Peak Venerable said this to him, Fu Su Venerate would not pay attention. However, Lin Yuan, though he wasn't certain precisely how strong Lin Yuan was, he knew for sure Lin Yuan was at the strongest Venerate level. Even in facing Lin Yuan, Fu Su Venerate felt a sense of pressure. Returning it is possible. Fu Su Venerate stared at Lin Yuan, speaking up. As long as you, Galaxy Venerate, can take one of my strikes. Fu Su Venerate said. He didn't wish to fight Lin Yuan to the death over a giant core pillar. With the contested treasure land far from concluded, exhausting one's cards would leave nothing to face the latent lethal weaponry of other ancient countries. Hence, limiting it to one move. Okay. Lin Yuan slightly nodded. Though he wished to engage Fu Su Venerate, he knew now wasn't the right time. Given his cultivation speed, he could probably enhance his power further before the contest's end, sweeping through this treasure land more assuredly. As for now, Lin Yuan came to see if he could reclaim the giant core pillar, though not necessary to pursue if unsuccessful. At the same time, throughout the treasure land, various Peak Venerables similarly sensed the time-space fluctuations emanating from the giant core pillar held by the Fu ancient country. What's happening? Why has fighting broken out there? Venerable from various ancient countries gazed distantly towards the giant core pillar's location, perceiving a vast annihilation and collapse of time-space, with even the rules of the Grand Path transforming, deterring close approach. This is the power exerted only when the Peak Venerables go on a killing spree. Who is it? Who dares to make a move on the giant core cosmic pillar at this time? The peak venerables were puzzled. That giant core cosmic pillar has already been refined by Fusu Venerate, who can appear instantly. To make a move on the giant core cosmic pillar is equivalent to making a move on Fusu Venerate. This is not something any ancient country could accomplish. Even in the later stages of the battle for the treasure land, when all the ancient countries deployed their weapons, they planned to unite against a Fu ancient country, hoping to capture the treasure land. But now, the peak venerables were somewhat bewildered, not knowing which ancient country was taking action. That Galaxy Venerate, compared to the puzzled Thunderclap ancient country, Shenin ancient country, and barbaric wilderness country's powerful beings, the 11 venerables of the Fu ancient country watched the direction of the giant core cosmic pillar with lingering fears. Their main bodies were completely crushed by Galaxy Venerate, the strength gap like a natural divide making the 11 peak venerables of the Fu ancient country still unable to recover. Fu Yu, that Galaxy Venerate. Fu Yun Venerable looked at Fu Yu Venerate. He was the first peak venerable to fall at the hands of Galaxy Venerate. Although he didn't see much of Lin Yuan's actions, just that moment before death made Fu Yun Venerable speculate. Galaxy Venerate should have crossed into the strongest venerable level. Fu Yu Venerate nodded after a moment of silence. The so-called strongest Venerate is the level where Fusu Venerate resides, which is the strongest level historically reached by venerables from all the ancient countries. The other peak venerables had no objections to Fu Yu Venerate's words. If not a strongest Venerate, how could they so easily crush the 11 peak venerables? If not a strongest Venerate, how could it be that Fusu Venerate, who had arrived long ago, was unwilling to make a move? If not a strongest Venerate, how could they boldly invade the Fu ancient country to claim the refined giant core cosmic pillar? Strongest Venerate. Fu Yun Venerable took a deep breath. Even in the Fu ancient country, strongest Venerates are extremely rare, with only a few in each era. The vast majority of venerables cannot even reach the peak venerable level, let alone the strongest Venerate. Galaxy Venerate. Is it because of the ancestral bloodline at the Venerate level? Fu Dang Venerate quietly thought, and hearing Fu Yu Venerate say Lin Yuan crossed into the strongest Venerate level, his resentment completely dissipated. Now, I just hope Fu Su can fend off the Galaxy Venerate. Fu Yu Venerate sighed, looking towards the direction of the giant core cosmic pillar. The other peak venerables did the same. Did Galaxy Venerate really go to the giant core cosmic pillar? In another part of the treasure land, the peak venerables of Fierce Sun ancient country also looked towards the source of spatial fluctuations. Originally in the independent space of the Fierce Sun capital, when they heard Lin Yuan wanted to reclaim the giant core cosmic pillar, although they chose to believe this young Galaxy Venerate, they still had doubts. After all, it was too incredible. A slight breakthrough? Not weaker than Fusu Venerate? What a joke. Fusu Venerate is the strongest Venerate. Can a breakthrough to strongest Venerate be that easy? Still a slight breakthrough. However, when they felt the battle fluctuations transmitted from the giant core cosmic pillar, they completely confirmed Lin Yuan's words could be true. Galaxy Venerate. Has he become the strongest Venerate? Red Lotus Venerable still found it hard to believe. Before entering the treasure land, Galaxy Venerate once sparred with him, showing peak venerable prowess. Yet in just a short 1,000 years within the treasure land, has he crossed into the strongest venerable directly? In front of the giant core cosmic pillar, Fu Su Venerate's gaze was deep, and all directions suddenly became illusionary, as if reality transformed into something ethereal. Suppress. Fu Su Venerate's expression turned solemn. He exerted his full power, raising his right hand to press against Lin Yuan. As his right hand moved, heaven and earth, even the rules turned illusionary, ceasing to exist. Lin Yuan observed closely, the power of Yin-Yang Taiji swirling around his body, faintly forming a Tai Chi diagram, slowly rotating. As the right hand pressed down, the Tai Chi diagram remained motionless. Lin Yuan's expression changed slightly. He vaguely felt changes in time perception. Is it the means that affect the power of time? Lin Yuan thought to himself. When Fusu Venerate once slapped him away, he experienced this scene, having no chance to resist. But for me now. Lin Yuan's expression was calm. This technique affecting beings' perception of time is very terrifying, intangible and formless. Sometimes it's unknown when one is hit. But it's not without a solution. If time is likened to a stream, then beings are like floating creatures on the stream, drifting with the flow at its mercy. But if a being is an immensely heavy stone sunk at the stream's bottom, they naturally can ignore the stream's pace, unaffected by its flow. The current Lin Yuan, with his vast internal cosmos and unfathomable foundation, is equivalent to that stone sunk at the bottom. Fu Su Venerate's technique affecting time perception cannot shake him. Swoosh! Fu Su Venerate withdrew his right hand, taking a deep look at Lin Yuan before turning to leave. Though he did not unleash his full techniques, that previous move was indeed his full force, yet it still did not affect Lin Yuan in any way. Fu Su Venerate realized he could hardly deal with Lin Yuan unless he employed the foundational weaponry given by the Fu ancient country. But what he could employ, Lin Yuan could also employ. If both sides use them, it equates to not using them. Fu Su Venerate did not wish to engage in such mutual destruction. Left. Lin Yuan watched Fu Su Venerate turn and leave without much thought, directly beginning to refine the giant core cosmic pillar before him. And in an instant, the giant core cosmic pillar was refined smoothly by Lin Yuan once more. Chapter 12:17. Inconceivable Prestige. After refining the giant core pillar, Lin Yuan felt a slight sense of mastery over the sacred land in his heart again. Whether it was an ordinary core pillar or a giant core pillar, they were essentially the key nodes of the sacred land. Theoretically speaking, refining all such nodes would equate to controlling the entire sacred land. The Heiyu Nest's core has only 63 locations, whereas this sacred land's core exceeds 300, with 3 giant ones. Lin Yuan thought to himself. Without a doubt, this newly birthed sacred land is absolutely one of the most top-tier among all the first-class sacred lands controlled by the 6 ancient countries today. Among the same tier of sacred lands, there are only 6, 3 of which are controlled by the Defu ancient country. The use of this golden mist is definitely not simple. Lin Yuan thought of the rare treasures nurtured by this sacred land. So far, the Fierce Sun ancient country's research on the golden mist still remains at the stage of slowly absorbing it with the fleshly body physique. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged in front of the giant core pillar. He began to review the brief encounter with the Fu Su Venerate. The Fu Su Venerate deliberately withdrew, conceding this giant core sacred land, fearing mutual destruction with me, allowing other ancient countries to benefit. Lin Yuan understood the Fu Su Venerate's intentions very well. With the core pillars already refined and occupied by the Fu Su ancient country, this giant core pillar wasn't a necessity. Even if the Fierce Sun ancient country obtained this giant core pillar, in terms of the number of refined core pillars, it still couldn't compare to the Defu ancient country. The Fu Su Venerate believed the Defu ancient country still held an absolute advantage. Hence, there wasn't a need to go all out against Lin Yuan. Just that I and the Fu Su Venerate. Lin Yuan fell into a brief reflection. The strike from the Fu Su Venerate was entirely blocked by his Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji diagram. But this doesn't necessarily mean Lin Yuan is stronger than the Fu Su Venerate. It merely indicates that in a conventional maneuver, the Fu Su Venerate couldn't do anything to Lin Yuan. The Fu Su Venerate should have mastered 2 13th level inheritances. Quite a terrifying power. Lin Yuan thought to himself, I've cultivated infinite void, and the divine skill, Fierce Sun opening heaven. The fusion of the two also equates to 2 13th level inheritance methods. Moreover, the Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji Dao that I've evolved also counts as a 13th level method, even stronger than ordinary 13th level methods. After all, it's my great Dao perfectly aligned with myself. Lin Yuan analyzed in his heart. The cultivation threshold for 13th level inheritance is extremely high. Mastering 2 13th level inheritances is exceedingly rare. The infinite void that Lin Yuan cultivates, despite going smoothly, owes to Lin Yuan's extraordinary intellect. For other powerful beings, just surviving the trials in the Jade Gourd state would be tough. Even if they barely get through it, most would linger on the threshold. In the treasury of the Fierce Sun ancient country, there's a 13th level inheritance named Fierce Sun Heart. To master this inheritance, one of the thresholds is to constantly maintain the Fierce Sun mindset, Under this mindset, the cultivator's rationality is completely replaced by fierce sun. Simply put, virtually devoid of rationality, impulsive, easy to anger, and so on. However, once fierce sun heart is mastered, one's heart will transform towards the heart of a 13th level time life. Even if it's only a 10,000th, a 100,000th of the true 13th level life's heart power, it's enough to sweep all heavenly venerates. In terms of combat power augmentation, this kind of inheritance transforming towards 13th level absolutely surpasses other 13th level inheritances. But Lin Yuan holds it in reverence and stays away from it. This kind of 13th level inheritance, even if Lin Yuan fully meets the requirements, he wouldn't attempt to cultivate, losing most rationality. The future troubles are too great. The gap between me and the Fusu Venerate is mainly at the life level. Ultimately, I am just a Dominator realm life. Lin Yuan thought to himself but didn't really mind. With his current stage, as long as he crosses into the Chaos stage, he would directly be perfect in the Chaos realm, after all, having already evolved the Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji Dao. My greatest advantage isn't the universe within, it's not infinite void, nor is it fierce sun opening heaven, but the road I've evolved. Lin Yuan's gaze was slightly fervent. Just the first level of the Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji Dao already gives his strength such an increase. What if he cultivates to the second level or even the third level? Compared to this potential Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji Dao, perhaps only cultivating Infinite Void to level 7 can compare. But Infinite Void reaching level 7 is ultimately just a theory. Even the creator had no assurance. Lin Yuan considered himself falling short of a true time life. Compared with it, the third level of the Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji Dao still seems more reliable. Just as Lin Yuan was assessing his own strength, a commotion directly erupted among the peak venerables throughout the sacred land. Compared to the semi-illusory state core pillars, the aura of the giant core pillar radiates in all directions, utterly impossible to contain. Even a heavenly venerate with just a little sensation can feel the majestic aura of the giant core pillar. Previously, the giant core pillar was occupied by the Defu ancient country, refined by the Fusu Venerate, feeling it wouldn't make a difference. But now, the slight change in the aura emitted by the giant core pillar sparked a thought in the minds of all peak venerables. The giant core pillar has changed owners. Wasn't that giant core pillar refined by the Fusu Venerate? How could it change hands? Who exactly is it? Among the remaining 5 ancient countries' peak venerables deployed this time, is there another powerhouse no weaker than the Fusu Venerate? Chapter 12:18. To force Fusu Venerate to relinquish the gigantic core pillar. How is this possible? The hearts of several peak venerables were shaken. The original battle fluctuations over by the gigantic core pillar had already left them astounded. Now even the gigantic core pillar has changed hands. Given the importance of the gigantic core pillar, Fusu Venerate couldn't possibly have not descended. Since he descended and it still changes hands, it means Fusu Venerate voluntarily gave way. It is Galaxy Venerate. That gigantic core pillar has been refined by Galaxy Venerate. Galaxy Venerate? Isn't he just newly entered into the heavenly venerable realm? Galaxy Venerate took the gigantic core pillar from Fusu Venerate? The many peak venerables were a bit dumbfounded. They had anticipated that other ancient countries might deliberately hide a powerful one, but didn't expect this powerful one to be Galaxy Venerate. The uniqueness of Galaxy Venerate is singular across the 6 ancient countries. He is the first royal clan member to elevate the ancestors' bloodline to the heavenly Venerate level. But time has been too short. For royals, tapping into the bloodline power makes it indeed easier to ascend in strength, but only relatively easier, not a leap to the top. Is this the ancestral bloodline at the heavenly Venerate level? Many peak venerables' thoughts were diffused, already planning to study the ancestral bloodline thoroughly after this treasure land's power struggle concludes. Before Lin Yuan, truly powerful peak venerables somewhat looked down on bloodline power and its limitations. But now, the numerous peak venerables had no more stereotypes about the ancestral bloodline. The mysterious and ancient capital of Defu Nation, this is the first city of the source world and also the birthplace of the first Defu ancestor, holding great significance not only for Defu ancient country but also for the other 5 ancient countries. It's the wellspring of everything. Even if among the 5 ancestors, 3 were not born in Defu ancient country, but to become ancestors is deeply tied to the Defu ancestor. After all, the path of cultivation and the cultivation system of this world originated from the Defu ancestor. In the deepest part of the capital, several figures gathered here. Nearby, scenes are flashing past, showing Lin Yuan punching through the 11 peak venerables of the Defu ancient country and finally taking on a strike from Fu Su Venerate. Fu Su Venerate was also among them, quietly observing the passing images, occasionally lost in thought. TSK, this Galaxy Venerate, his methods are remarkable, the path of chaos power he evolved is very unusual. Indeed, I can see he should have cultivated a 13th level legacy, but to withstand Fu Su's full force strike relied mainly on his self-evolved path of chaos power. Such a strong path of chaos power, very rare. Each figure spoke in turn, evaluating Galaxy Venerate. A 13th level legacy, plus the heavenly Venerate level of ancestral bloodline power, along with an extraordinary path of chaos evolution. This Galaxy Venerate still has considerable room for growth. Indeed, if another 13th level legacy is mastered, we estimate we would not be his match without joining forces. The figures exchanged words, highly praising Lin Yuan. The path of chaos power evolved by this Galaxy Venerate seems not yet to have reached the 3rd tier, lacking that sense of perfection. At this moment, a previously silent voice suddenly spoke. Not yet reached the 3rd tier in the evolution of the path of chaos power? Hearing this, the expressions of the other figures slightly shifted. The evolutionary paths of chaos power are divided into 3 levels with significant differences, particularly between the 2nd tier and the 3rd tier, representing the gap from an ordinary heavenly venerate to a peak venerable and even a top peak venerable. Fu Su, you fought him, is it so? A figure looked toward Fu Su Venerate and inquired. The images passing by are, after all, just images. Even if sourced from Fu Su Venerate's memory, they aren't comparable to personally being present. Yes. Fu Su Venerate remained silent for a while, then nodded. The 3rd tier of the chaos evolutionary path is the realm of perfection. Achieving this level of an evolutionary path would give a sense of having reached the ultimate, unprogressible limit. And in this regard, Fu Su Venerate had not felt that from the Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji diagram evolved by Galaxy Venerate. Could it be that in this era, our 6 ancient countries will see the birth of a mighty figure who surpasses the strongest venerable? One figure couldn't help but say, since the founding of the 6 ancient countries, the strongest venerable has always been the pinnacle of the heavenly Venerate level, yet with the current power exhibited by Galaxy Venerate, it's highly possible to break this limit. Hee. Don't say such things. The stronger the chaos evolutionary power path is, the more challenging it is to reach perfection. Another figure spoke without much worry. Besides, even if Galaxy Venerate truly reaches that step, what impact does he have on us? Not reaching the ancestral level, could he threaten our Defu ancient country? And if he does reach the ancestral level, then it's a matter for the ancestors to consider, unrelated to us. With these words pronounced, the other figures pondered for a moment and immediately nodded in agreement. Ancestral level, huh? Don't know if any of us have a hope to step into it. The figures' thoughts spread out. As for the heavenly Venerate, the loftiest desire is to break the cycle of time, stepping into the 13th tier ancestral realm. However, it's extremely difficult. Since Defu ancestor founded Defu ancient country, only 5 ancestors have been born in endless eons. The figures present are the strongest venerables of Defu ancient country, having incarnated as ancestors more than once, and the more they incarnate, the more they perceive the disparity between the ancestors and themselves. This disparity is not merely a level of power, but a higher tier of distance. That Galaxy Venerate, no matter how strong, whether he can ultimately become an ancestor is still uncertain. His likelihood isn't much higher than ours. A figure spoke. Fu Su, do you have confidence in this treasure land's power struggle? A few figures chatted casually for a while, then looked toward Fu Su Venerate. Initially, Defu ancient country dispatched Fu Su Venerate, the strongest Venerate, to contend for that treasure land, and it was as close to victory as possible. They just didn't expect Galaxy Venerate to appear. Conventional methods can't deal with that Galaxy Venerate, But in a real life and death showdown, the current Galaxy Venerate may not necessarily be my match. Fu Su Venerate said. Perhaps in the future, Galaxy Venerate's power will surpass his. But now? The reason Fu Su Venerate voluntarily yielded the gigantic core pillar was not out of fear of Galaxy Venerate, but to avoid letting other ancient countries reap the benefits. And with almost 1,000 years until the power struggle for Treasure Land begins, the Fu ancient country still holds advantages, etc. It was not out of fear of that Galaxy Venerate. That's good. What a pity. Had I known such a formidable Galaxy Venerate would emerge in this Treasure Land power struggle, I would have participated. The figures conversed mutually at their level. Dueling with peers of the same level is also a delight. Inside the Treasure Land. Outside the gigantic core pillar. The 11 peak venerables of the fierce sun ancient country arrived there. Galaxy Venerate. Can Galaxy Venerate really reclaim this gigantic pillar? Up till now, Venerable Guanglia still found it hard to believe. As a top peak venerable, he deeply understood Fu Su Venerate's might. Even for him, it would require the fierce ancient country's foundational killing artifact to contend with him. If Fu Su Venerate also wielded the foundational killing artifact, then joint forces from other ancient countries would be needed to counter him. This is a scene inevitably appearing in the later stages of the Treasure Land's power struggle, given to Fu ancient country's might. Galaxy Venerate's power is too strong, Venerable Hengyang remarked with emotion, recalling when the entry quota for the Treasure Land was being determined. He was slightly displeased with the Emperor of the fierce sun ancient country forcing in this royal member. All right. At this point, Red Flame Venerable finally spoke. Galaxy is letting us in. The other peak venerables nodded. At present, the leading venerate of the fierce sun ancient country had quietly shifted from Red Flame Venerable to Galaxy Venerate. There was no other choice. In all 6 ancient countries, strength reigns supreme, a stern rule. Galaxy Venerate has been acknowledged as having the power of the strongest venerate. If he's not the leader, who is? If Red Flame Venerable leads, so does Galaxy Venerate. Moreover, Galaxy Venerate seizing the gigantic core pillar holds immense significance for this Treasure Land power struggle. It alleviated the pressure on the fierce sun ancient country in taking more core pillars in the subsequent stages. The strength is present. The merit follows. If Galaxy Venerate isn't the leading venerate, who is? Chapter 12:19 The Su-In Heavenly Venerates Deal. Very soon, a group of heavenly venerates saw Lin Yuan sitting cross-legged beneath the giant core pillar. Galaxy! Qi Yen Venerable immediately shouted. I have seen the Galaxy Venerate. The tone of Red Lotus Venerable and other typical peak venerables inevitably carried respect. There are gaps even among heavenly venerates, especially with the strongest venerable, who is the pinnacle of the heavenly venerate tier, a realm that most heavenly venerates cannot even approach. To become the strongest venerable, one must first be a top-tier peak venerable, which automatically excludes 99% of heavenly venerates. Additionally, one must master a level 13 legacy, not just dabble in it. But how easy is it to master a 13-tier legacy? It involves 13-tier power and numerous threshold conditions, not to mention various risks and hidden dangers. Encountering 13-tier power prematurely is both a blessing and a curse. Lin Yuan opened his eyes, looking at Qi Yen Venerable and the others with a smile. This giant core pillar could be considered lost and regained. Qi Yen Venerable looked at the towering giant core pillar with a smile on his face. The fierce sun ancient country now occupies and refines 52 core pillars. Adding this giant core pillar, it becomes 62. Although it still does not match the Defu ancient country's 72 pillars, it surpasses the barbaric wilderness country, ranking second among the 6 ancient countries. With Galaxy Venerate, the fierce sun ancient country's chances of winning this treasured land have greatly increased, Qi Yen Venerable said with emotional tones. If Lin Yuan had not suddenly emerged, the fierce sun ancient country would certainly have had to ally with other ancient countries to counter Defu. Regardless of win or loss, intense skirmishes would have followed. But now, leveraging Lin Yuan's strength, the fierce sun ancient country has risen to the same level as Defu, overlooking the struggles of the other 4 ancient countries. Whether we can ultimately secure this treasured land, I'm not sure, Lin Yuan replied. At least for now, his strength cannot crush all peak venerables within the treasured land. If Defu and the other 5 ancient countries joined forces, Fusu Venerate and many top-tier peak venerables could still pose a threat to Lin Yuan. Actually, having Galaxy Venerate here makes securing this land less important, Qi Yen Venerable said. The emergence of a strongest venerable in the Fierce Sun ancient country? The implications are profound, at least until the strongest venerable surpasses the 13th tier, which boosts the Fierce Sun ancient country's confidence against any ancient country besides Defu. Still, securing it would be better, Lin Yuan said. Succeeding in capturing this treasured land would net a large number of rare treasures produced here, along with abundant merits bestowed by the ancient countries. Lin Yuan greatly desires the various legacies and rare treasures in the treasury of the Fierce Sun ancient country, differing from other heavenly venerates who have accumulated considerable merits over the ages. Lin Yuan is still quite young. Even with formidable strength, he has not acquired much merit. Therefore, Lin Yuan intends to seize this treasured land as best as he can, for the merits gained are substantial, and the time involved is far shorter than in a comprehensive war. Right? It's definitely better to secure it. Qian Venerable grinned. Who wouldn't want to seize the treasured land? Though the true purpose of the Golden Mist is unclear, it surely must be beneficial. A certain location within the treasured land. 12 peak venerables from the Xianin ancient country gathered. In this treasure land competition, our Xianin ancient country only holds 38 core pillars, ranking 6th. Su Yin Heavenly Venerate looked at the other 11 peak venerables of the Xianin ancient country, shook his head, and said, "And now, a strongest venerable like Galaxy Venerate has emerged. The remaining 11 peak venerables remain silent. Currently, the hope for Xianin ancient country to secure this treasured land is incredibly slim, almost non-existent. Ancient countries in the top 3 or even 4 have opportunities to contend, but 6th place. Unless Xianin ancient country hides a beast like Galaxy Venerate, there is simply no hope. Alas! Earth in Venerable sighed. This treasure land contains over 300 core pillars, truly among the most top-tier of all prime treasure lands currently. Unfortunately, Xianin ancient country did not place enough emphasis, sending in peak venerables with insufficient strength. Otherwise, they wouldn't have only secured 38 core pillars. So, I intend to trade away these 38 core pillars. Su Yin Heavenly Venerate shared his thoughts. Having ascertained that there is no hope in capturing the treasured land, they would try to minimize losses and maximize profits. Though Xianin ancient country holds 38 core pillars, ranking 6th, any of the top 5 ancient countries acquiring these claimed cortex pillars would rapidly ascend in rank, potentially taking 1st place. Su Yin, whom do you intend to trade with? Earth in Venerable asked, unsurprised by Su Yin Heavenly Venerate's decision. The core pillars within the treasured land hold optimal value in such exchanges. Without trading, once the competition concludes, they'd still have to withdraw, gaining nothing. Defu ancient country and Fierce Sun ancient country then. Su Yin Heavenly Venerate contemplated for a moment and then spoke. Currently, Defu and Fierce Sun have the best chance of securing this treasured land, thanks to having a strongest venerable level presence to preside. They desire to acquire Xuanin's occupied core pillars most ardently, preventing opponents from getting them even if they themselves cannot. Earth in Venerable nodded. Demand a substantial price. Earth in Venerable said. Naturally.
Su Yin Heavenly Venerate smiled.
In front of a core pillar of heaven. Su Yin Heavenly Venerate silently gathered his figure and said to the many Defu venerables guarding the place, I want to see Fusu Venerate.
Si Fuxu Venerate?
Fuyu Venerate looked at Su Yin Heavenly Venerate and started to contact Fusu Venerate. After a while,
Su Yin Heavenly Venerate met Fuxu Venerate. Su Yin.
Fusu Venerate glanced at Su Yin Heavenly Venerate and casually said, What do you want to see me for? I intend to trade with you, Fusu Venerate, for the 38 core pillars that my Xianin ancient country has occupied and refined. Suin Heavenly Venerate said with a smile. Trade. Fu Su Venerate looked at Suin Heavenly Venerate. Giving up so quickly? With you, Fu Su, here, my Shenin ancient country has no hope of seizing this treasure land. Suin Heavenly Venerate said. What do you want? Fu Su Venerate went straight to the point. Although the Defu ancient country still held the advantage, with the 38 core pillars from the Shenin ancient country, the success would be more guaranteed. 50%. Suin Heavenly Venerate looked at Fu Su Venerate. Once your Defu ancient country seizes this treasure land, in 1 trillion years, my Shenin ancient country wants 50% of the precious items produced from this treasure land. 50% of the production over 1 trillion years? Fu Su Venerate sneered. Your Shenin ancient country has quite the appetite, wanting 50% just for 38 core pillars? It's only 50% over 1 trillion years. Not too much. Suin Heavenly Venerate said. At their level, ordinary treasures hold little meaning. Only the treasures produced in this newly emerged treasure land can attract attention. The Shenin ancient country did not have the confidence to seize the treasure land itself. Hence this proposal. 50% is too much, only 10%, and that is 10% of the treasure production within 1 million years. Fu Su Venerate said. That's too little. Suin Heavenly Venerate immediately shook his head. Or you could propose other conditions. Fu Su Venerate said. Our Defu ancient country occupies so many treasure lands. Perhaps for another treasure land, we could consider giving you 50% of the treasure production over 1 trillion years. Only this treasure land. Suin Heavenly Venerate frowned. 1 trillion years cannot change. 50% of the treasure production can be lowered a bit. 20%. 20% is my bottom line. 20%? Fu Su Venerate looked at Suin Heavenly Venerate, falling into thought. Meanwhile, a manifestation of Suin Heavenly Venerate also descended before the giant core pillar. Galaxy Venerate. Suin Heavenly Venerate also met Lin Yuan, smiling as he spoke.
Suyin Heavenly Venerate.
Lin Yuan looked at Suin Heavenly Venerate. I've come this time to make a transaction with your fierce son ancient country. Suin Heavenly Venerate said. My Shenin ancient country has refined 38 core pillars in total. I wonder how much are these 38 core pillars worth? Though his other manifestation was negotiating with Fu Su Venerate, such a transaction would definitely go to the highest bidder, seeing which side can offer the highest price. What conditions? Upon hearing this, Lin Yuan immediately said, 80%. Suin Heavenly Venerate looked at Lin Yuan. If the fierce sun ancient country captures this treasure land, 80% of the treasures produced within 10 trillion years from this treasure land will belong to my Shenin ancient country. In addition, your fierce sun ancient country must gift my Shenin ancient country 2 first-class treasure lands. Given that fierce sun ancient country currently ranks far behind Defu ancient country in terms of refined core pillars, Suin Heavenly Venerate naturally had more room to set prices. Compared to Defu ancient country, fierce sun ancient country definitely yearns more to obtain the 38 core pillars of Shenin ancient country. Too much. Lin Yuan frowned at Suin Heavenly Venerate. Not to mention the 2 first-class treasure lands. 80% of the treasures produced in 10 trillion years? Isn't that saying that within 10 trillion years, Lin Yuan won't gain much of the treasures produced by this treasure land? Perhaps for fierce sun ancient country this condition is acceptable. After all, 10 trillion years isn't unreasonably long, but for Lin Yuan, how long has it been since embarking on the path of evolution until now? 10 trillion years? In such a long time, even if Lin Yuan doesn't step into the 13th tier, he would be trapped in a time cycle, and by then even more treasures of the land would mean nothing to him. Not too much. Suin Heavenly Venerate smiled at Lin Yuan. The Defu ancient country has already agreed to my conditions. Galaxy Venerate, you should know, once my Shenin ancient country's 38 core pillars fall into Defu ancient country's hands, your fierce sun ancient country's hope of capturing this treasure land will be significantly reduced. With the relationship between the Thunderclap ancient country and Defu ancient country, ultimately the core pillars of the Thunderclap ancient country will certainly fall into Defu ancient country's hands as well. You have to think it through. Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate looked at Lin Yuan with an expression of, I am considering for you. Are you threatening me? Lin Yuan squinted his eyes slightly. There is no threat. Everything is purely voluntary. Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate's face displayed a smile. Chapter 1220, Lin Yuan's Future Timeline. Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate smiled as he looked at Lin Yuan. In terms of strength, he was naturally inferior to the strongest venerable who had suddenly emerged before him. But he was far from being afraid. What about the strongest venerable? Wasn't there one in the Shenin ancient country? And with the Shenin ancestor present, was this Galaxy Venerate really bold enough to invade the Shenin ancient country? Now that there's finally a chance to ruthlessly profit, Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate naturally would not pass it up. The conditions he proposed to Lin Yuan were much higher than those offered to the Defu ancient country. After all, the latter currently had the most refined core pillars, and even without his Shenin ancient country's refined core pillar, they still had a great chance to seize this treasure land. Therefore, Shenin Venerable didn't dare to demand too much from the Defu ancient country because the other side still had options. But the Fierce Sun ancient country? Without the core pillars occupied by the Shenin ancient country, even if the strength of the Galaxy Venerate was formidable enough to match Fusu Venerate, it would be meaningless, as the combined refined core pillars held by the Defu ancient country, Thunderclap ancient country, plus the Shenin ancient country, exceeded more than half of the total number. Too much, Lin Yuan said. Not too much. Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate was unwavering. At most, I can offer you 50% of the output. After contemplating for a moment, Lin Yuan looked at Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate. Galaxy Venerate, this is the bottom line of my Shenin ancient country. Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate, confident of his current importance, smiled as he spoke. I'll think about it. Lin Yuan didn't reject outright, leaving some room for maneuver. All right. Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate didn't want to push Lin Yuan too hard, knowing that if there were alternatives, dealing with the Fierce Sun ancient country would be more beneficial to him. However, more than half of the time to fight over the treasure land has already passed, and I hope the Galaxy Venerate will make a decision soon. The conditions offered by the Defu ancient country are not low. With that, Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate's avatar directly dissipated. After Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate disappeared, Red Flame Venerable emerged. Su-Yin, this guy is simply taking advantage of the situation. Red Flame Venerable frowned, not to mention the 80% of the rare treasures produced over 10 trillion years by this treasure land, as well as 2 prime treasure lands. How many prime treasure lands does the Fierce Sun ancient country hold altogether? And to give away 2 just for 30-odd core pillars. No choice. Lin Yuan was equally dissatisfied at heart but knew that in this situation, offending the Shenin ancient country completely would only push them toward the Defu ancient country. Currently, with Lin Yuan's strength, even if he could surpass Fusu Venerate with full effort, it wouldn't be a crushing victory, especially with other ancient countries watching intently, such as the barbaric wilderness country and the Deling ancient country, which, although they didn't have the strongest venerable stationed within, the hidden killing implements brought out from the ancient country could contend against the strongest venerable to some extent. Galaxy, what do you plan to do? Red Flame Venerable looked at Lin Yuan, who, despite being angry at Su-Yin Heavenly Venerate's exploitation, could only rationally agree to his terms. At least that way, there's a chance to compete with the Defu ancient country for this treasure land. Stall, Lin Yuan said. Stall? Red Flame Venerable immediately understood Lin Yuan's intent. See how the situation develops before making the final decision. After all, it involved not just this treasure land but also 2 other prime treasure lands belonging to the Fierce Sun ancient country. Even if the Shenin ancient country didn't specify which 2 prime treasure lands, even the least of prime treasure lands produced treasures of immense value. In fact, Red Flame Venerable was thinking too little. Lin Yuan's idea of stalling was not just to see how the subsequent situation unfolded, but more importantly, to see if he could achieve another breakthrough in the next 1,000 years. Currently, there are only 3 breakthroughs that Lin Yuan valued. One is completing the 3rd level of Infinite Void cultivation. The second is reaching the second level of the Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji Dao. The third is stepping into the Chaos realm. Any of these breakthroughs could lead to a qualitative surge in Lin Yuan's strength. Su Yin, how's the deal going? On the Shenin ancient countryside, Earth Yin Venerable asked Su Yin Heavenly Venerate. The other side with the Defu ancient country is fine, but the Fierce Sun ancient country, Galaxy Venerate said he'd think about it.
Su Yin Heavenly Venerate replied.
That's normal, I would consider it too. Earth Yin Venerable wasn't surprised. The conditions for the deals with both major ancient countries were clear to them, and while they could make concessions to the Defu ancient country, for the Fierce Sun ancient country, no concessions would be made, because the Shenin ancient country was convinced that they had the Fierce Sun ancient country and the Galaxy Venerate in their grip. But no matter how much they consider, as long as the Fierce Sun ancient country still desires this treasure land, they will have to agree to us. Earth Yin Venerable smiled. Indeed. In fact, the sudden emergence of the Galaxy Venerate is a good thing for our Shenin ancient country. Su Yin Heavenly Venerate also smiled. If there was no Galaxy Venerate, the Defu ancient country would dominate, and even with other ancient countries joining forces, the Defu ancient country's hope of securing this treasure land was still high. In such a situation, the Shenin ancient country wouldn't be able to command a high price. Other than the Defu ancient country, other ancient countries simply wouldn't buy. But now with the Galaxy Venerate, it instilled a sense of crisis in the Defu ancient country, prompting them to readily agree to Su Yin Heavenly Venerate's demand. With Galaxy Venerate and Fusu Venerate in contention like clams and snipes, regardless of who lost or won, the Shenin ancient country would emerge the beneficiary in the end. In the Chaos Void, deep within the Galaxy Chaos continent, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged, with a palm-sized small cauldron floating before him. Chapter 1221. It is precisely the 13-tier weapon, the Sky Void Tripod. The rules of the Great Tao contained within the cauldron operate, and Lin Yuan has different insights each time he comprehends them. A 13-tier weapon. Lin Yuan watched the slowly rotating and floating Sky Void Tripod. Even in the 6 great ancient countries of the origin world, to exchange for a 13-tier weapon, 1,000 billion merits would be needed. And the exchanged 13-tier weapons can only be comprehended for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, they must be returned. This tripod. Lin Yuan observed the floating small tripod, vaguely looking toward the deepest parts, realizing that the foundation of this 13-tier weapon was not the myriad rules, but the subtle timelines within. Timelines? Lin Yuan's heart trembled slightly, vaguely realizing that perhaps he had truly come into contact with the domain of 13-tier time-life entities. The future. Lin Yuan, by observing the timelines of this small tripod, vaguely saw blurred images. Under a desolate starry sky, a young man raised his hand, his gaze indifferent, urging the Sky Void Tripod, blasting it towards an unknown special place. Under the terrifying might of the Sky Void Tripod, that special place crumbled inch by inch, the soul of the special place laughing madly, saying the great time-life entity will avenge me, and then totally obliterated. After destroying a special place, the young man's expression changed slightly, looking in a certain direction. Most regions in the image were very blurry, and Lin Yuan could only confirm that the young man seemed to have sensed something. Finally, the young man voluntarily destroyed his physical body and soul, even abandoning the Sky Void Tripod, disappearing completely into the void. The image ended. Lin Yuan fell into contemplation. Without a doubt, the image should depict the future. As for the young man in the image urging the Sky Void Tripod, it was indeed Lin Yuan. But why his future self would, at all costs, urge the Sky Void Tripod and completely destroy a special place, Lin Yuan did not understand. The special places in the Chaos Void are basically related to 13-tier time-life entities. Completely destroying a special place would surely provoke the time-life entity behind it. In the final moments of the image, the young man voluntarily obliterated his physical body and soul, presumably due to the arrival of a time-life entity. Lin Yuan was unsure how many years it would be in the future for him in the image, but based on his growth speed, even in just a few thousand years, his strength should be at the pinnacle below the 13 tiers, where so-called invincible great saints, strongest venerables, should pose no threat in front of him thousands of years later. Even under such circumstances, choosing to voluntarily obliterate everything could only be due to a time-life entity's threat. Lin Yuan knew himself well. Obliterating his physical body, soul, mind, and will in the chaos void didn't mean complete death to him. It was just losing a way out, while the self in the origin world was living just fine. With my character, I shouldn't be so impulsive, not only forcefully urging the sky void tripod, but also completely destroying a special place related to 13-tier time-life entities? Lin Yuan thought to himself. Urging the sky void tripod would attract the gaze of this 13-tier weapon's owner, and destroying a special place was tantamount to thoroughly offending a 13-tier time-life entity. The costs and consequences were not something Lin Yuan could bear, unless he had already become a time-life entity, but at that time voluntarily obliterating all his physical body and soul meant Lin Yuan was not yet a match for the 13 tiers. Could it be due to some great feud? Lin Yuan thought in his heart. Human civilization tribe? According to Lin Yuan's speculation, he wandered alone without many friends. The only possible great feud could be with the human civilization tribe. His future self, at the risk of abandoning all foundations in the chaos void, aimed to completely destroy that special place, evidently showing irreconcilable hatred between the two. Perhaps it was not just hatred, but the soul of that special place had learned one of his secrets, prompting his future self to take action. Various possibilities appeared in Lin Yuan's mind. Unfortunately, I'm not yet a time-life entity. Even though I could view a fragment of future imagery, it's hard to infer specific information. Lin Yuan slightly shook his head. The information revealed in the current image was too limited. Most of the regions were extremely blurry, and even the special place he destroyed was incredibly vague, only faintly perceiving the gaze of other special places in the distant background. If one were truly a time-life entity, they could carefully view all details of this future timeline, understanding the reason and outcome, ultimately thinking of a response or choosing whether to follow this timeline or not. 13-tier time-life entities have the ability to choose their future. For example, upon seeing a future timeline they are dissatisfied with, they can completely terminate the trajectory of that timeline from a certain node. Conflicts between 13-tier time-life entities mainly depend on how many timeline trajectories they can view. The more powerful the 13-tier time-life entity, the more and farther future timelines they can see, thus having greater advantages in same-tier conflicts. For example, at certain future key nodes, sudden clashes between two 13-tier life forms occur without any signs, without any grudges. It is estimated that the future each time-life entity desired came into conflict, fighting to correct and redirecting the future toward their desired direction. Lin Yuan wanted to continue watching future timelines through the sky void tripod, but suddenly felt a certain pain in his soul, immediately stopping his observation. Future timelines belong to the realm of the 13 tiers, and Lin Yuan, using the sky void tripod, barely touched upon them but with severe limitations, being unable to watch continuously. Forget it. Lin Yuan collected his thoughts. The past is set, the future is undefined. Every moment can produce countless futures, and even a 13-tier time-life entity cannot view all future timelines. Perhaps the future image Lin Yuan just saw would never occur. It was only an infinitesimal possible trajectory. No matter what, moving forward, it's best to remain as low profile as possible and refrain from associating with those special places. Lin Yuan thought to himself, although even if abandoning everything in the chaos void wouldn't cause an irreversible impact, it would still be a great loss. Best not to let go if possible. In Lin Yuan's planned trajectory, before stepping into the 13 tiers, no significant commotion would be stirred. Origin world. Within the precious land. As time passed, the spirit prison venerable of the Deling ancient country also approached Lin Yuan, wanting to trade the 45 precious lands his country occupied and refined with the fierce sun ancient country. Compared to the Shenin ancient country, the demands from the Deling ancient country were even more excessive, demanding a direct transfer of the 10 trillion-year ownership of this precious land. This meant that even if the fierce sun ancient country ultimately seized this precious land, within 10 trillion years, it would have no relation to the fierce sun ancient country, and all its unique treasures would belong to the Deling ancient country. Galaxy Venerate, my Deling ancient country occupies and refines 45 core pillars. Once you acquire them, you will surpass the Defu ancient country in one leap, said the Spirit Prison Venerable. So far, the most likely candidates to seize this precious land were the Defu ancient country and the Fierce Sun ancient country, followed by the barbaric wilderness country. As for the remaining 3 great ancient countries, they basically have no hope. I'll consider it. Lin Yuan did not directly reject. All right? The Spirit Prison Venerable nodded. If Lin Yuan agreed immediately, he would instead feel uneasy. After the Spirit Prison Venerable left, Red Flame Venerable looked at Lin Yuan and said, both the Xianin ancient country and the Deling ancient country have approached us, but the Thunderclap ancient country has never come, estimating they have wholly leaned towards the Defu ancient country. Red Flame Venerable's expression was heavy. The Thunderclap ancient country occupies and refines 38 core pillars, all aligning with the Defu ancient country, equivalent to the latter's core pillar count surpassing 100. Never mind. Let's wait and see. Lin Yuan's tone was calm. Time continued to pass. On this very day, a peculiar wave swept through various parts of the precious land. The peak venerables of the great ancient countries together looked towards the source of the wave. The second giant core pillar emerged. Chapter 1222. Breakthrough. Chaos Realm. Gigantic Core Heaven Pillar? It's the second gigantic core heaven pillar. The many supreme heaven lords immediately began to rush towards the source of the strange fluctuations with all their might. When the first gigantic core heaven pillar emerged, everyone was reluctant to fight to the death with the Defu ancient country, since there were still 2 more gigantic core heaven pillars yet to emerge. They could afford to wait a little longer. But for the second gigantic core heaven pillar, no supreme heaven lord was willing to give it up easily. Even though the first gigantic core heaven pillar ended up in the hands of the Galaxy Venerate, Fusu Heaven Lord would certainly make a move to seize the second gigantic core heaven pillar again. Some top supreme heaven lords also planned to try their hand at a fight. Even the Xianin ancient country, which had long given up the struggle, didn't mind making a move. If this gigantic core heaven pillar fell into their hands, they could completely offer the Fierce Sun ancient country and the Defu ancient country a higher price. This gigantic core heaven pillar is definitely ours. The barbaric wilderness countries. A towering figure tore through time and space, rushing quickly. Galaxy, the second gigantic core heaven pillar has emerged. The Red Flame Venerate looked at Lin Yuan and quickly spoke. Lin Yuan nodded. I'll go have a look. As the words fell, Lin Yuan's figure disappeared from where he was. In almost a fraction of a breath, around the newly emerged towering heaven pillar, several figures suddenly appeared. First, Fusu Heaven Lord, followed by Lin Yuan, and lastly a towering figure. Not the first to arrive? Lin Yuan glanced at Fusu Heaven Lord. The location where this gigantic core heaven pillar emerged was a good half a treasure land's distance from the first gigantic core heaven pillar. So his speed in arriving still lagged slightly behind Fusu Heaven Lord. The other was closer to this gigantic core heaven pillar. Galaxy Venerate, you've already obtained 1 gigantic core heaven pillar. Still planning to seize another? Fusu Heaven Lord smiled at Lin Yuan. The towering figure nearby also watched the 2 strongest venerables from afar. I'll give it a try, Lin Yuan said casually. If he could secure this gigantic core heaven pillar, it would certainly be better. Man Kuan, I suggest you head to the first gigantic core heaven pillar and wait there. Fusu Heaven Lord suddenly turned his head, looking at the towering figure beside him. This towering figure was the leading top supreme heaven lord of the barbaric wilderness country. At this moment, his aura was strong and penetrated through time and space, faintly showing signs of confronting the 2 strongest venerables, evidently having activated the ancient country's foundational war tool. Head to the first gigantic core heaven pillar and wait there? Man Kuan Venerable's expression changed slightly, looking at Lin Yuan next to him. The implication of Fusu Heaven Lord was easy to understand. Once Fusu Heaven Lord and Galaxy Venerate started fighting, He could fully take advantage of Galaxy Venerate being restrained by Fu Su Heaven Lord to seize the first gigantic core heaven pillar. Lin Yuan glanced at Fu Su Heaven Lord. At the same time, he faintly felt the aura of several top supreme heaven lords nearing the gigantic core heaven pillar he had refined. Once he was restrained here, the gigantic core heaven pillar he refined would be in danger. Why did Red Flame Venerate voluntarily give up and let Fu Su Heaven Lord take the first gigantic core heaven pillar? It was because Fu Su Heaven Lord, who already occupied one gigantic core heaven pillar, basically had no ability to continue occupying the second one. Fu Su Heaven Lord could indeed send out avatars, but the strength of these avatars was far inferior to his true body's main power and likewise couldn't hold on. As for carrying multiple main battle avatars inside, not to mention how difficult it is to cultivate a main battle avatar, even bringing in 2 or 3 main battle avatars would struggle to face such a situation. Main battle avatars, avatars alike, and even the true body all share one conscious mind. In this scenario, the strength maintained by the mind's will at the same time is limited. If one side occupies too much mental focus, the other side's strength will inevitably be weakened. Actually, with Lin Yuan's power and reserves, he could completely guard 2 gigantic core heaven pillars. That would involve recondensing the Tai Yin and Tai Yang 2 primordial spirits within the treasure land, merging them into the Taiji primordial spirit. The Taiji primordial spirit differs from avatars and main battle avatars in that it doesn't occupy Lin Yuan's additional mental focus, meaning both the Taiji primordial spirit and his true body could exert maximum combat power simultaneously. However, the Taiji primordial spirit was Lin Yuan's trump card. Even if it allowed him to occupy the second gigantic core heaven pillar, it wouldn't enable him to refine more core heaven pillars than the Defu ancient country. Deploying the Taiji primordial spirit prematurely would alert the supreme heaven lords of the major ancient countries, hindering Lin Yuan's following strategies and maneuvers. The impact would be minimal. Furthermore, even with the deployment of the Taiji primordial spirit, once the third gigantic core heaven pillar emerged, it still wouldn't prevent Fu Su Heaven Pillar from occupying and refining it. According to Lin Yuan's plan, if, by the struggle for the treasure land's end, he hasn't broken through yet, he would then form the Taiji primordial spirit, occupy and refine more core heaven pillars in the shortest time possible. His true body and Taiji primordial spirit roughly equate to the combat power of 2 strongest venerables, striking at the last moment when Fu Su Heaven Lord has no time to react or respond. It's highly possible he could seize the treasure land in the end. If he still fails to seize the treasure land, only then would Lin Yuan consider the terms of the Shenin ancient country and Deling ancient country, securing the treasure land first before proceeding. This is also why Lin Yuan didn't directly reject the offerings from the Shenin ancient country and Deling ancient country. Good idea. Lin Yuan looked at Fu Su Heaven Lord, shook his head slightly and said, "But you disgust me. So I've decided to let this treasure land go to the barbaric wilderness country." Galaxy Venerate you? Fu Su Venerate's expression slightly changed. In the next moment, the Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji diagram expanded infinitely, enveloping Fu Su Venerate within it. Ha ha ha! Thank you, Galaxy Venerate. Man Kuan Venerable was overjoyed, knowing that Galaxy Venerate intended to hold off Fu Su Venerate, giving him time to refine this gigantic core heavenly pillar. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Without any hindrance, Man Kuan Venerable instantly refined the gigantic core heavenly pillar. At this time, Lin Yuan also retracted the Chaos Yin-Yang Taiji diagram, glancing at Fu Su Venerate, whose expression was gloomy. Since this gigantic core heavenly pillar now has an owner, I'll take my leave first. Lin Yuan's figure disappeared and returned to the vicinity of the gigantic core heavenly pillar he had refined. At this moment, many top-tier peak venerables were approaching, with Red Flame Venerable and Venerable Guanglia on high alert. Only when Lin Yuan reappeared did the peak venerables of the Fierce Sun ancient country breathe a sigh of relief. Galaxy, you did the right thing. Red Flame Venerable also received the latest intelligence about the second gigantic core heavenly pillar. Although Fu Su Venerate posed a deadly threat to Lin Yuan had choices. He took the initiative to hold off Fu Su Venerate, benefiting Thunder Venerate, thereby venting some frustration. Ha ha ha, Galaxy Venerate. No matter who this treasure land belongs to, I'll treat you to a drink when we return. At this moment, Lin Yuan received a message from Man Kuan Venerable. All right. Lin Yuan nodded. Can you hold off Fu Su Venerate? No problem. Man Kuan Venerable patted his chest with confidence. In front of the second gigantic core heavenly pillar, Fu Su Venerate stared at Man Kuan Venerable standing beside the heavenly pillar. Fu Su, if you attack me with all your might, aren't you afraid that the Fu ancient country's other refined core heavenly pillars will be seized? In front of Man Kuan Venerable, an oscillating heart appeared, with surging power spreading out, guarding the space-time around the gigantic core heavenly pillar. Humph! Fu Su Venerate pondered for a long time and finally turned to leave. If he were to exert his full strength here, the Galaxy Venerate of the Fierce Sun ancient country would most likely seize the opportunity to plunder the core heavenly pillars refined by the Defu ancient country. The core heavenly pillars occupied by Defu ancient country already surpass those of the Fierce Sun ancient country, usually under his own guard, leaving no opportunity for Galaxy Venerate. But if he were detained here, Galaxy Venerate certainly wouldn't stand idly by. Thus, even if he could repel the already refined gigantic core heavenly pillar holder Man Kuan Venerable, some of the previously refined core heavenly pillars would certainly fall into the hands of Galaxy Venerate. In such a losing deal, no matter how angry Fu Su Venerate was, he wouldn't choose to engage. Watching Fu Su Venerate leave, Man Kuan Venerable felt a slight relief in his heart. Man Kuan. A smile appeared on the faces of other peak venerables from the barbaric wilderness country as they approached. This time, capturing this gigantic core heavenly pillar is all thanks to Galaxy Venerate. Man Kuan Venerable said truthfully. If it weren't for Galaxy Venerate holding off Fu Su Venerate and battling this strongest venerable, Man Kuan Venerable had no assurance of success. Galaxy Venerate could have chosen to retreat to the gigantic core heavenly pillar he had refined, but instead, he chose to delay Fu Su Venerate, which Man Kuan Venerable was deeply grateful for. If this time our barbaric wilderness country had no hope of capturing this treasure land, I would trade all core heavenly pillars to Galaxy Venerate. Man Kuan Venerable thought to himself, purely because Galaxy Venerate helped him this time and he bore a grudge against Defu ancient country. Quickly, the news of the second gigantic core heavenly pillar being refined by Man Kuan Venerable of the Thunderclap ancient country swiftly spread among the many peak venerables in the treasure land. Man Kuan Venerable refined the second gigantic core heavenly pillar? Haha, I know the inside story. Galaxy Venerate deliberately held off Fu Su Venerate to allow Man Kuan Venerable to refine it. Isn't Galaxy Venerate afraid of completely offending the Defu ancient country? What does it matter if they get offended? With Galaxy Venerate's strength, they're not afraid of Defu ancient country. That's true, after all, being the strongest venerable. The peak venerables conversed among themselves, and many top-tier peak venerables intended to vie for the gigantic core heavenly pillar, but it was already settled before they could arrive. Time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, 600 years went by. During this time, the third gigantic core heavenly pillar emerged, and Fu Su Venerate left in anger, successfully capturing the final gigantic core heavenly pillar. Thus, the three gigantic core heavenly pillars within this treasure land were respectively owned by the Fierce Sun ancient country, the barbaric wilderness country, and the Defu ancient country. And with the emergence of the three gigantic core heavenly pillars, the atmosphere between the six ancient countries within the treasure land began to grow subtle. The closer it got to the final stage of the treasure land's contention, the more tense it became, with the most intense battles potentially erupting at any moment. Meanwhile, in the chaos void on the Galaxy Chaos continent, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged, comprehending the Tao of Chaos Yin Yang Taiji. Suddenly, Lin Yuan opened his eyes, sensing his aura gradually becoming perfected and at its limit. I have grown to the extreme of the Dominator realm in every aspect. Lin Yuan looked thoughtful, then gently exhaled. It's time to step into the Chaos realm. Chapter 1223. The Fate of Shadow Demon and Nine Phoenix. Given Lin Yuan's profound foundation, crossing from the Dominator realm to the Chaos realm presents no difficulty whatsoever. The reason for waiting until now is merely to allow himself to grow to the limit in all aspects, thus gaining more when crossing into the Chaos Realm. Break through directly. Lin Yuan did not hesitate, and at the moment he reached the peak of perfection, he began the leap and enhancement of his life's essence. Boom! Lin Yuan's mind and will began to roar, as if breaking through some bottleneck shackle. His physical body began to improve frantically. His soul's will also began to surge rapidly. The universe within his body likewise began to evolve swiftly. Everything was being enhanced by a wide margin. Before this, Lin Yuan's several breakthroughs, such as mastering the third layer of infinite void and evolving the path of chaos power, only enhanced him in certain aspects or focused on a particular facet. But now, Lin Yuan was experiencing an all-encompassing enhancement. This enhancement was not just from Dominator Realm to Chaos Realm, but directly from Dominator Realm to the pinnacle of Chaos Realm. Lin Yuan had already evolved the path of chaos power. Crossing into the Chaos Realm directly reached the pinnacle level, without any need for further refinement or cultivation. Swoosh! The universe within his body was boundless. When Lin Yuan chose to break through to the Chaos Realm, the universe within him once again expanded, with the principles of time and space becoming increasingly perfect, approaching the chaos void. The jade gourd trembled, and a red-clad girl stood nearby, observing the changes in the universe within his body from afar. Finally crossed into the Chaos Realm. The red-clad girl let out a deep sigh of relief. If Lin Yuan did not cross into the Chaos Realm soon, she might have started to doubt her understanding. Which Dominator Realm powerhouse can bore such a large piece of eternal adamantite and possess the combat power of an invincible great saint directly? The red-clad girl could be said to have watched Lin Yuan grow from the early stages of the 12th layer to his current level, being quite clear about his growth speed and combat power at each level of his realm. Does a Dominator Realm already possess invincible great saint combat power? How strong will it be upon reaching the Chaos Realm? Even the knowledgeable red-clad girl couldn't help but look forward to it. In the Chaos Void, invincible great saints, although rarely matched against each other, indeed belong to different levels of strength. The red-clad girl was unclear about other invincible great saints, but as for the inheritor of infinite void, normally, mastering the 5th layer of infinite void equates to possessing invincible great saint combat power, and mastering the 6th layer of infinite void is still an invincible great saint, but certainly much stronger than those at the 5th layer. If nothing unexpected happens, this should be the strongest invincible great saint of the infinite void lineage, right? The red-clad girl thought silently, feeling that Lin Yuan's internal universe had already reached a level comparable to the 6th layer of infinite void. While Lin Yuan's cultivation in infinite void remains at the 3rd layer, there are still the 4th and 5th layers ahead. There is indeed plenty of room for improvement. Those not fully formed special places? The red-clad girl gazed at certain special location nodes in the internal universe, which were precisely Lin Yuan's evolutions from the fundamental elements of special places, creating smaller special places. At this moment, as the internal universe grew, these smaller special places were also swiftly transforming. The time beings stand high above. They specifically open these special places and occasionally cast their gaze down, not out of boredom. The red-clad girl thought silently. From the height of time beings, they wouldn't care about matters below the 13th layer. Even the legacies they created wouldn't be overemphasized. But many special places, however, are particularly cared for. The red-clad girl was certain that if any special place faced complete destruction, it would almost certainly draw the attention of the time being behind it, possibly even their direct arrival. Deep within the galaxy chaos continent, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged. This breakthrough was vastly more calm compared to the earlier path-breaking entry into the Dominator Realm, causing hardly any spectacular energy fluctuations. The transformation of his life's essence, and all forms of enhancement, were completed in silence. Is this the Chaos Realm? Lin Yuan opened his eyes, observing the chaos void within his field of vision once more changed, comprehending the essence of time and space, and the essence of the operation of the Grand Path, all understood fully. The elevation of the essence of life rendered Lin Yuan's vision anew, as if ascending from a small hill to a 10,000-meter peak, overlooking all mountains below. Chaos void. Lin Yuan gazed upon the world nurturing innumerable lives, even to peerless great saints. The chaos void is vast and boundless, so immense it's unimaginable, impossible to traverse entirely in a lifetime. Yet at this moment, Lin Yuan vaguely sensed that the chaos void has boundaries. Though the specific boundaries were not yet clear, they certainly exist. So vast. It was the first time Lin Yuan so clearly felt the chaos void. Lin Yuan's gaze fell on some nodes of the chaos void that vaguely contained another world. Those nodes must be the special places. Lin Yuan's expression was thoughtful. The 13th layer beings specifically opened these special places, occasionally casting their gaze down, because these special places compensate for the hidden flaws of the chaos void. At Lin Yuan's current realm, though still far from being comparable to the 13th layer time beings, he could discern many essences and vaguely understand some uses of those special places. Even as vast as the chaos void, it is not truly perfect and still contains some flaws. Chapter 1224. Of course, these shortcomings are not fatal, but they do exist. A million cosmic eras, tens of millions of cosmic era could not influence the operation of the chaos void. But when the timeline is lengthened by billions of times, little by little, the influence will gradually increase, eventually even pushing the entire chaos void into the Great Destruction. Therefore, in order to maintain the eternal operation of the chaos void, the 13th level temporal beings stepped in to create some special locations, suppressing them at those key nodes to eliminate potential dangers. This act benefits not only the chaos void but also the 13th level temporal beings, as it elevates certain aspects of their foundation. No wonder, in the future timeline that I viewed using the Sky Void tripod, the moment a special location was completely destroyed, a temporal being immediately descended. Lin Yuan thought to himself. In fact, normal strong individuals, even invincible great saints, cannot shake those special locations. Beings below the 13th level cannot destroy them, even if they wish to. However, Lin Yuan, with his terrifying power, coupled with the activation of the 13th level weapon Sky Void tripod, the released power was unimaginable, and that special location was completely destroyed in an instant. But from this perspective, the 13th level is not invincible either. At least the future timelines they see are not comprehensive. If they truly saw through all timelines, then I wouldn't have had the opportunity to destroy that special location. Lin Yuan thought silently in his heart. Every moment countless timelines emerge. The 13th level temporal beings can only view part of these timelines. Perhaps the 13th level temporal being behind that special location did not see the timeline in which Lin Yuan destroyed it. My inner universe is modeled after the chaos void. The hidden flaws and defects of the chaos void should also exist in my inner universe. Integrating the root objects and establishing a smaller special location would indeed greatly benefit the inner universe. Lin Yuan's thoughts spread out. The red-dressed girl told him to integrate the root objects, which was indeed not wrong. Let's go out for a walk. After carefully feeling the changes within himself, Lin Yuan slowly stood up. Buzz! In an instant, Lin Yuan left the galaxy chaos continent, appearing thousands of void domains, tens of thousands of void domains away. With another step forward, he left behind another few thousand, tens of thousands of void domains. Even for a chaos great saint, crossing a single void domain would take quite some time, several years, decades, centuries. Crossing thousands, tens of thousands of void domains? The time needed is estimated to be measured in 10,000 years or 100,000 years. The speed of a peerless great saint is a bit faster, but at most they can only shorten the time by a few times. But Lin Yuan, with each step, crosses thousands, tens of thousands of void domains, his speed unbelievably fast. After taking 3 or 4 steps in succession, Lin Yuan suddenly stopped and looked in a certain direction. At that location, Lin Yuan sensed 2 origins of causality related to himself. 9 Phoenix, if you want to die, can you not drag me down with you? Amidst the fierce collision of black and red power, the shadow demon great saint angrily looked at the 9 Phoenix great saint who was entangling him. Ever since the Galactic Great Saint of the Shenhuang universe killed their main combat bodies, the Shadow Demon Great Saint realized that the Galactic Great Saint was very displeased with him. To be precise, he was displeased with both him and Nine Phoenix. Otherwise, why not accept the conditions they proposed and directly kill them? Although he didn't know the reason, angering a powerhouse like the Galactic Great Saint made the Shadow Demon Great Saint very apprehensive. However, at this moment, the Nine Phoenix Great Saint recklessly continued to entangle him, even actively releasing his aura. From that moment on, the Shadow Demon Great Saint realized that the Nine Phoenix Great Saint was courting death, trying to actively draw the attention of the Galactic Great Saint and thus provoke pursuit. Because of this, the Shadow Demon Great Saint chose to flee far from the nearby void domain of the Shenhuang universe. Over the years, the Shadow Demon Great Saint used some temporal vortexes in the Chaos Void to temporarily cross large tracts of the void domain, and is now nearly 10,000 void domains away from the Shenhuang universe. Only after reaching this point did he feel a sense of security in his heart. At such a great distance of nearly 10,000 void domains, even a Chaos Great Saint or a Peerless Great Saint would need to spend considerable time to traverse it. Nine Phoenix, I know you want to draw the Galactic Great Saint, but it's obvious the Galactic Great Saint hasn't come after us, said the Shadow Demon Great Saint. Whether the Galactic Great Saint chases or not, I will continue to entangle you, the Nine Phoenix Great Saint said with determination. Previously, outside that Shenhuang universe, he saw the hope of stepping into the 13th level. The Nine Phoenix Great Saint chose to cease hostilities with the Shadow Demon Great Saint. After all, once he steps into the 13th level, his brothers, sisters, and many clansmen could be resurrected. Killing the Shadow Demon Great Saint cannot resurrect his clansmen, but stepping into the 13th level can. After weighing the options, the Nine Phoenix Great Saint devoted himself to the Shenhuang universe. It's pointless. The Shadow Demon Great Saint coldly looked at the Nine Phoenix Great Saint. I am a great saint, and you are a great saint too. What can you achieve by entangling me? Even if as strong as the Galactic Great Saint, at best, he can only kill my main combat body. It's impossible to completely kill me. Every Chaos Great Saint secretly arranges countless contingencies. Completely killing a Chaos Great Saint is something even ordinary invincible Great Saints cannot achieve. The reason the Shadow Demon Great Saint was so apprehensive after sensing the hostility of the Galactic Great Saint was purely out of fear of becoming an outcast. It's true, the Galactic Great Saint cannot kill him but can make life extremely difficult for the Shadow Demon Great Saint. Chapter 1225. The Nine Phoenix Great Saint heard this and did not respond. Instead, continued to entangle with the Shadow Demon Great Saint. Fool! The Shadow Demon Great Saint was both angry and helpless. Thousands of void domains away, Lin Yuan gazed deeply, watching the entanglement between the Shadow Demon Great Saint and the Nine Phoenix Great Saint from afar. I didn't expect to encounter them here? Lin Yuan's thoughts spread. After leaving the Shenhuang universe, Lin Yuan felt the Nine Phoenix Great Saint and the Shadow Demon Great Saint entangle in a fierce battle once more, without any reservations. One reason was that Lin Yuan gained enormously from his journey to the Shenhuang universe, obtaining the Sky Void Tripod, a 13th tier weapon, and did not want to complicate matters. Secondly, even if he pursued and killed the Shadow Demon Great Saint and the Nine Phoenix Great Saint, they wouldn't truly die. They could resurrect through life-saving means, rendering it meaningless. So at that time, Lin Yuan didn't pay much attention to it. But now, after stepping into the Chaos Realm, Lin Yuan's strength still did not surpass the Shenhuang, who had half-stepped out of the 12th tier. But the Nine Phoenix Great Saint and the Shadow Demon Great Saint were not peerless Great Saints, merely newly ascended Great Saints. Since Shenhuang could completely slay peerless Great Saints, Lin Yuan could also try to thoroughly kill the newly ascended Great Saints like the Nine Phoenix Great Saint and the Shadow Demon Great Saint. Alright, let's settle this cause and effect. Lin Yuan took a step forward and disappeared from where he was. A clash of black and red aura. The originally pursuer and pursued, Nine Phoenix Great Saint and Shadow Demon Great Saint, suddenly felt the surrounding space-time shift and an unbearable pressure collapsing upon them. Who is it? The Shadow Demon Great Saint was filled with dread. Such pressure had already surpassed that of the Galaxy Great Saint. The Nine Phoenix Great Saint also had a face full of vigilance. At this moment, a figure appeared out of thin air, quietly watching the two Chaos Great Saints. Galaxy Great Saint? The Shadow Demon Great Saint was speechless. He hadn't felt any connection to the Galaxy Great Saint. Galaxy Great Saint? Compared to the Shadow Demon Great Saint, the Nine Phoenix Great Saint was not so fearful. At least in the hands of the Galaxy Great Saint, neither the Shadow Demon nor she could escape. Galaxy Great Saint, I don't know when I offended you. I'm willing to make amends, paying any price to do so. The Shadow Demon Great Saint immediately said, though the loss of this physical body didn't count as true death, continuously staying like this wasn't a solution. To be enemies with such a powerful being as the Galaxy Great Saint made the Shadow Demon Great Saint feel unable to move forward. Make amends. Lin Yuan glanced at the Shadow Demon Great Saint and smiled slightly. No need. The next moment, the Shadow Demon Great Saint started to feel his vision blur. What? The Shadow Demon Great Saint's scalp prickled. In this instant, he sensed everything related to his cause and effect beginning to extinguish, including life-saving means and the like. Am I truly going to die? This thought suddenly floated up in the Shadow Demon Great Saint's mind, and immediately he began to struggle, trying to break free a strand of his spiritual consciousness for reincarnation. But next, the entirety of the Shadow Demon Great Saint's mind and consciousness completely collapsed. Everything related to his physical and spiritual form disappeared without a trace. Completely dead? Lin Yuan nodded slightly. Just now, he had exerted himself fully, instantly locking onto everything related to the Shadow Demon Great Saint's cause and effect and obliterated it all at once. Shadow Demon. Beside him, the Nine Phoenix Great Saint was in a daze, unsurprised by the Shadow Demon Great Saint's fall. With the strength the Galaxy Great Saint showed in the Shenhuang universe, it was quite normal to kill both of them, ordinary Great Saints as they were. But what shocked the Nine Phoenix Great Saint was that after the Shadow Demon Great Saint's death, there was indeed no source of cause and effect. Considering the enmity and cause between her and the Shadow Demon Great Saint, as long as the Shadow Demon Great Saint was alive, she should have been able to sense his cause and effect source. Cause and effect could be concealed, could be blurred, but as long as it existed, it could be felt. But now, the Nine Phoenix Saint truly felt the cause and effect connection to the Shadow Demon Great Saint sever and vanish, leaving not a single trace. There were only two possibilities for this scene. One was that the Shadow Demon Great Saint had truly perished. The second was that the Shadow Demon Great Saint had abandoned everything to reincarnate. Galaxy Great Saint, the Shadow Demon the Nine Phoenix Great Saint showed no fear, instead looking directly at Lin Yuan. Already completely dead, Lin Yuan looked at the Nine Phoenix Great Saint, similarly locking onto all things related to her cause and effect, needing only a thought to extinguish her entirely. Dead. Dead. Ha 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 ha. Dead and well. Dead and well. The Nine Phoenix Great Saint suddenly burst into hysterical laughter. The scene she dreamed of witnessing had indeed happened now. Thank you, Galaxy Great Saint. The Nine Phoenix Great Saint's demeanor gradually calmed, with a trace of tranquility and liberation. Now, I won't need the Galaxy Great Saint to take action. As the words fell, the Nine Phoenix Great Saint burned completely. Their body, soul, and mind began to blaze. Not only her true self but also everything related to her cause and effect life-saving means began to burn. Ah brother, ah sister, I'm coming to join you. The Nine Phoenix Great Saint, enveloped in infinitely vital flames, walked towards complete annihilation. Chapter 12:26. It's simple. Just sweep through. Self-destruction by choice? Lin Yuan gazed down at the gradually dispersing chaos flame, his thoughts stirring like ripples. For a Chaos Great Saint to willingly annihilate themselves, it's incredibly difficult. Could their Tao heart be so unyielding, having reached Chaos Realm perfection? Such a powerful figure can be killed, can be suppressed, but for them to willingly self-annihilate is almost impossible. Back then, Shenhuang perished due to the backlash from forcibly breaking free of the time loop, but the Nine Phoenix Great Saint, He willingly walked towards annihilation right in front of Lin Yuan. This was indeed because of Lin Yuan's strength, but even if not an opponent, no Chaos Great Saint would willingly walk towards self-annihilation. For example, Lin Yuan, even when faced with a supreme being of time, would surely resist and struggle if there was no way out, rather than surrender. In the timeline scenes seen by the Sky Void tripod, Lin Yuan, after completely destroying that special place, willingly annihilated his physical and spiritual body because he still had a fallback in the source world. It was not true death. Yet the Nine Phoenix Great Saint, Lin Yuan could clearly sense that the burning of the Nine Phoenix Great Saint was thorough, leaving nothing related to their own karma to save themselves. As for reincarnation, Lin Yuan also didn't sense any trace of spiritual will merging into the rules of the Chaos Void for reincarnation. This means that the Nine Phoenix Great Saint was heading toward complete death and extinction. The karma has ended. Lin Yuan looked at the quickly dispersing chaos flame, feeling the lack of any trace of karma from the two Chaos Great Saints, and thought silently. From the early destruction of the homeland universe to the difficult integration of human civilization into the Chaos Void, it all stemmed from these two Chaos Great Saints. Now that the other has completely fallen, the grievances and karma between the two are settled. The chaos flame dissipated. A crystalline, translucent crimson crystal stone appeared there. Lin Yuan glanced at it, extended his right hand, and took the crimson translucent crystal stone in his hand. The crystal contains threads of chaos flame. Though not much, it is extremely pure. Is this the condensation of the Nine Phoenix Great Saints' lifetime Tao fruit? Lin Yuan looked at the crystal stone. No matter what kind of being, whether below the 12th level or seeking to dominate chaos, as long as they merge with this crystal, they can quickly tread the path of chaos power evolution that the Nine Phoenix Great Saint followed. Simply put, this crystal stone can quickly create a Chaos Great Saint. Such a treasure, even Lin Yuan had only heard of it, never seen it before. Even invincible great saints like Shen Huang and the Moyu Tower Master had never seen it. Because it's extremely difficult. It requires a fully perfected chaos realm at full strength to willingly give up everything, abandon the 13th level attempt, give up reincarnation, etc., to have the hope of condensing it. And to make a Chaos Great Saint do this is almost impossible. Moreover, the most critical point is, even if this Chaos Great Saint is willing to do so, they may not be able to finally condense such a Tao fruit. If one's Tao can continue, then it is not a complete demise. Lin Yuan looked at the crimson crystal stone in his hand, put it into his inner universe, and then turned to return to the galaxy chaos continent. Source world. Within a treasured land. As the true self of the chaos void entered the chaos realm, the true self in this source world naturally also stepped into the chaos realm. This space-time, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged, feeling the vast power within him. After stepping into the chaos realm, the essence of life transformed and leaped forward. Lin Yuan once again felt the suppression of the treasured land's space-time on him becoming almost negligible. The primordial lands of the source world. Lin Yuan's gaze was deep, vaguely seeing further into the space-time through this treasured land. The essence of the treasured land is that it falls off from the source world. If the source world is compared to a towering tree, then the treasured land is like the fruit on the tree. The fallen fruit, already disconnected from the towering tree, refers to places like the Heiyu Nest and other treasured lands. But at present, this treasured land has just emerged, maintaining a state of being both detached and not detached from the source world. With Lin Yuan's current realm, through this half-disconnected link, he could perceive some of the essence of the towering tree that is the source world itself. At this moment, an incarnation of Suyin Heavenly Venerate from the Shenin ancient country descended. Galaxy Venerate, have you made up your mind yet? Suyin Heavenly Venerate was somewhat impatient. Ever since 600 years ago, when he planned to use the core sky pillar occupied by his own ancient country to trade with Galaxy Venerate while taking the opportunity to gain substantial benefits, this Galaxy Venerate had been considering, claiming that such a major matter was not for him to decide. At first, Suyin Heavenly Venerate understood, as his demands were indeed excessive, no different from taking advantage of a crisis and making outrageous demands. Suin Heavenly Venerate knew he was making outrageous demands, and Galaxy Venerate and even the fierce Sun Ancient Country knew he was too. But given the situation within the treasured land, even if Galaxy Venerate and fierce Sun Ancient Country were unwilling, if they wanted to obtain this treasured land, they could only let them make outrageous demands. However, 600 years have passed. Galaxy Venerate kept saying he's considering. A straightforward transaction was dragged on for 600 years by Galaxy Venerate. This completely exhausted Suin Heavenly Venerate's patience. If not for the conditions he proposed to the fierce Sun Ancient Country far surpassing those proposed to the Defu Ancient Country, making the benefits of trading with Galaxy Venerate more attractive from a Li perspective, Suin Heavenly Venerate would have already turned to complete the transaction with the Defu Ancient Country. Consider what? Lin Yuan glanced at Suin Heavenly Venerate. Consider what? Suin Heavenly Venerate was somewhat astonished. It's been 600 years, and the Galaxy Venerate is still considering something? Could it be that these 600 years were for nothing? Galaxy Venerate, my patience is limited. Suin Heavenly Venerate suppressed the anger in his heart. Even though the Galaxy Venerate is the strongest venerable, Suin represents not himself, but the Shenin Ancient Country. The Galaxy Venerate's playful response made Suin extremely angry, feeling deceived. How dare you speak to me with such attitude? Lin Yuan looked at Suin Heavenly Venerate. Bang! With a wave of Lin Yuan's hand, a ripple of time and space crushed Su Yin's avatar. Suin Heavenly Venerate's avatar shattered instantly. Galaxy Venerate, you? Soon Suin regathered himself. Given his strength, forming another avatar was nothing. However, the newly formed Suin Heavenly Venerate stared at Lin Yuan in shock and disbelief. If this were outside the treasure land, speaking to the strongest venerable like this would indeed warrant punishment. But this is inside the treasure land, and the fierce Sun Ancient Country needs something from the Shenin Ancient Country. In this situation, why would the Galaxy Venerate dare to act so recklessly against his avatar? Could it be they've really given up competing for this treasure land? But that shouldn't be the case. Suin Heavenly Venerate knew well that although his demands were excessive, in the long run, it would be beneficial for the fierce Sun Ancient Country. Much better than letting Defu Ancient Country acquire this treasure land. What I want, I don't need to obtain through transactions. Lin Yuan glanced at Suin Heavenly Venerate, then said impatiently, Get lost already. Bang! Suin Heavenly Venerate's avatar exploded again. This time, Suin Heavenly Venerate did not reappear. All right. On the Shenin Ancient Country side, Suin Heavenly Venerate's eyes were grim. The Galaxy Venerate's actions and words made him realize that their transaction had basically fallen through. Although Suin didn't know why the Galaxy Venerate acted this way, the most important thing now was to quickly complete the transaction with Defu Ancient Country. If it drags on and Defu Ancient Country learns of this, they might assume the fierce Sun Ancient Country has perhaps abandoned the fight for this treasure land, and the conditions he proposed might be cut by more than half. Galaxy Venerate, fierce Sun Ancient Country. Suin Heavenly Venerate took a deep breath and immediately sent a consciousness to the giant core sky pillar occupied by Defu Ancient Country. Soon after driving away Suin Heavenly Venerate, Spirit Prison Venerable from the Deling Ancient Country also descended. Galaxy Venerate, have you considered? Spirit Prison Venerable was also here to urge the transaction. The treasure land competition was nearing its end, so he naturally wanted to complete the transaction quickly. No need to consider. Lin Yuan looked at Spirit Prison Venerable and said directly, If you want to trade with Defu, just go ahead. You? Spirit Prison Venerable was stunned, not understanding why the Galaxy Venerate said such a thing. It's obvious to anyone that if Deling Ancient Country completes the trade with Defu Ancient Country, Defu will have a crushing advantage in core sky pillar refinement. The fierce Sun Ancient Country would have no hope left. In such a situation, any sensible Galaxy Venerate would try to make a deal with Deling Ancient Country. Wouldn't they? Scram! Lin Yuan waved his hand, and Spirit Prison Venerable's avatar immediately disintegrated. Galaxy, what are you doing? Red Flame Venerable came out, puzzled about why Lin Yuan had shattered Su Yin Heavenly Venerate's avatar, and then Spirit Prison Venerable's avatar again. This left Red Flame Venerable somewhat bewildered. There's no need to trade with them. Lin Yuan looked at Red Flame Venerable, shaking his head as he said, "These ancient country venerables only know how to make demands. Aside from other demands, the ask to claim 80 to 100% of the rare treasures produced over the past quadrillion years before fully occupying the treasure land was unacceptable to Lin Yuan. The demands are indeed excessive." Red Flame Venerable was silent for a while. The Shenin ancient country and Deling ancient country had made excessive demands, which was obvious even to the other Fierce Sun ancient country venerables. But they had no choice but to agree if they wanted the treasure land. Red Flame Venerable was about to speak when suddenly his face changed. Defu ancient country has already completed transactions with Shenin ancient country and Deling ancient country. Now it's all over. Red Flame Venerable sighed. The transaction among the three ancient countries wasn't a secret. In fact, Fusu Venerate had actively spread the news. These three ancient countries possess nearly 180 core sky pillars, more than half of the total core sky pillar number, plus Thunderclap ancient country's core sky pillars. Red Flame Venerable was worried, even showing signs of despair. How can the Fierce Sun ancient country compete with Defu ancient country for this treasure land? Up to this point, Red Flame Venerable saw no hope. Even if the barbaric wilderness country allied with the Fierce Sun ancient country to control the core sky pillars, they were far outmatched by the opposition. It's simple. Lin Yuan glanced at Red-Eyed Venerable and said blandly, "Just push through." Chapter 1227. The Invincible Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's gaze was distant, his tone calm, but his words startled the Red Flame Venerable. "Just push through? What does that mean? Push through? Who to push through? Someone like Fusu Venerate, the strongest venerable?" Lin Yuan's strength was indeed unfathomable, at the same level as the strongest venerable of the six ancient countries. But Fusu Venerate was also the strongest venerable. Even if there was a gap between them, it wasn't large, so how could he push through? Besides Fusu Venerate, Shenin ancient country, Deling ancient country, Thunderclap ancient country, and other top peak venerables wielding ancient country's powerful relics, could explode with battle power not much weaker than the strongest venerable. With so many obstacles, how could the Galaxy Venerate push through them? The Red Flame Venerable couldn't comprehend it. In his view, the strongest venerable was already the strongest below the ancestor. Wanting to push through such a strong being, perhaps only the high-up ancestor could. But Lin Yuan clearly hadn't reached the ancestor realm. The Red Flame Venerable looked at Lin Yuan, his expression filled with uncertainty. If these words hadn't come from Lin Yuan, he wouldn't have thought so much, because he simply wouldn't believe it. Lin Yuan did not explain further, just waved a hand, and a map of the treasure ground appeared before them. This newly born treasure ground was vast and expansive, with a deep breadth of space-time. But after 1,000 or 2,000 years of exploration by the peak venerables of the six ancient countries, a precise map was basically drawn. The map was dotted with over 300 points of light. Among them, 3 points were larger than the others. The ordinary points of light were the core pillars within the treasure ground. The larger points of light were the giant core pillars. The Red Flame Venerable also saw the map of the treasure ground conjured by Lin Yuan, although each core pillar's precise space-time location coordinates were marked. Due to the special nature of the core pillars, the Heavenly Venerate refining the pillar could instantly appear beside it. This made ambushes meaningless. Any disturbance would cause the top peak venerable occupying the core pillar to descend instantly. Moreover, a certain ancient country's top peak venerable would usually hold the country's powerful relic, capable of exploding with battle power close to the strongest venerable in crucial moments. The Manchuan Venerable from the barbaric wilderness country refined the second giant core pillar, and though Fusu Venerate was furious, he could only retreat. This was partly due to Lin Yuan's threat and Fusu Venerate's uncertainty about breaking through Manchuan Venerable's defense quickly. The ancient country's powerful relics were terrifying, originating from the ancestor. When top peak venerables exerted their full strength, their capabilities would surge, making the strongest venerable wary. Let's start here. Lin Yuan looked at the map of the treasure ground for a while, finally choosing a core pillar in a corner. Starting here to push through could radiate to the entire treasure ground in the shortest time. Come with me. Lin Yuan glanced at the red flame venerable. Yes. The red flame venerable's face was puzzled. He vaguely sensed what Lin Yuan intended to do, found it hard to believe, but still nodded in response. Whoosh! Space-time twisted. In just a fleeting moment, Lin Yuan brought the red flame venerable to the core pillar in the corner. Such speed of space-time traversal. The red flame venerable was shocked in his heart. From the giant core pillar to here, although it wasn't half the treasure ground apart, it was at least 1/10 of the treasure ground's distance. Even a strongest venerable like Fusu Venerate would need at least a fraction of a breath to traverse such a distance out of thin air. Yet Lin Yuan only took an instant, and he brought him along. Galaxy Venerate? Before the core pillar, a figure materialized, cautiously watching Lin Yuan. This core pillar was occupied by the Thunderclap Ancient Country, and the one descending now was the top peak venerable of Thunderclap Ancient Country, named Lesa Venerate. Galaxy Venerate, my Thunderclap Ancient Country has already completed a transaction with Fusu Venerate. You're too late. Lesa Venerate stared at Lin Yuan and immediately said this. He thought Lin Yuan had come to negotiate for the core pillar they occupied and refined. No matter. Lin Yuan looked at Lesa Venerate, casually took a step forward. Rumble. A vast power of spacetime crushed forward. The second giant core pillar. 12 peak venerables of the barbaric wilderness country gathered here. Has Defu Ancient Country reached a deal with Xianin Ancient Country and Deling Ancient Country? The top peak venerable, Mankuan venerable of the barbaric wilderness country, immediately felt troubled. These three ancient countries stood together, plus the Thunderclap Ancient Country, which always followed the lead of Defu Ancient Country. Now Defu's control of core pillars exceeded 2/3 of all the core pillars in the entire treasure ground. Galaxy Venerate did not reach an agreement with Deling Ancient Country and Xianin Ancient Country? Another top peak venerable from the barbaric wilderness country said. Not to mention Thunderclap Ancient Country, which was tacitly said to stand by Defu Ancient Country. But Deling Ancient Country and Xianin Ancient Country, it was entirely possible to negotiate. As long as the price was high enough, it was believed they could be swayed. Thus they would qualify to compete with Defu Ancient Country. Perhaps they demanded too much? The third top peak venerable spoke, even without knowing the specifics of the negotiations between Deling Xianin and Galaxy Venerate. But anyone could guess these two ancient countries would make exorbitant demands. It's a pity these two ancient countries don't even entertain the thought of discussing with my Thunderclap Ancient Country. The second-speaking top peak venerable expressed some helplessness. Whether it's Deling Ancient Country or Xianin Ancient Country, the entire time they considered Defu Ancient Country and Fierce Sun Ancient Country. As for Thunderclap Ancient Country, Chapter 1228, it was never considered at all. After all, trading with the Thunderclap Ancient Country carries too much risk. Even if the two ancient countries handed over all refined core pillars to the Thunderclap Ancient Country, it's uncertain whether the latter can seize this treasure land. If in the end it is still taken by the Defu or Fierce Sun faction, then wouldn't the investment of the Deling Ancient Country and Xianin Ancient Country be in vain? Alright, no need to speak of this anymore. Just then, Mankuan Venerable spoke, sweeping his gaze over the peak venerables present. At this point, our barbarian wilderness country can only stand with the Fierce Sun Ancient Country. Even if we can't seize the treasure land ourselves, we must do everything we can to help Fierce Sun Ancient Country seize it. With Defu Ancient Country taking along Xianin Ancient Country, Deling Ancient Country, and Thunderclap Ancient Country, forming an overwhelming advantage, if barbarian wilderness country were to turn to Defu Ancient Country now, it would be merely icing on the cake. The Defu Ancient Country wouldn't have to pay much for it either. Therefore, barbarian wilderness country has only one choice. That is to stand with the Fierce Sun Ancient Country. Currently, although Defu Ancient Country holds an absolute advantage, But the real decisive battle has yet to come. Fierce Sun Ancient Country and Barbarian Wilderness Country might still have a chance. The remaining 11 peak venerables, upon hearing these words, showed a solemn demeanor and nodded slightly. Indeed, Barbarian Wilderness Country now has only the path of aligning with Fierce Sun Ancient Country. Before the third colossal core pillar, embodiments of the peak venerables from Defu Ancient Country, Xianin Ancient Country, Deling Ancient Country, and Thunderclap Ancient Country gathered. Ha ha ha, everyone. Although we now occupy the refined core pillars, far exceeding the Fierce Sun Ancient Country, we cannot become complacent. Fu Su Venerate smiled slightly, looking at the peak venerables below. Normally, such contests for newly emerged treasure lands erupt into decisive battles in the last century. The so-called decisive battle involves the strongest powers from various ancient countries striking with full force, without any reservations. Of course, even in the final decisive battle, Fu Su Venerate is fully confident that a head start leads to continued advantage. What's more, how much more than a head start does Defu Ancient Country currently hold? Fu Su Venerate only needs to keep the Galaxy Venerate occupied, and nothing significant can occur in Fierce Sun Ancient Country. Then let me prematurely congratulate Fu Su, brother. Suin Heavenly Venerate of Xianin Ancient Country was about to speak. Suddenly, among the peak venerables of Thunderclap Ancient Country below, Lace of Venerable's expression slightly changed. Fu Su, Lace of Venerable immediately spoke. That Galaxy Venerate suddenly appeared near one of the core pillars I was refining. Oh! Upon hearing this, Fu Su Venerate's expression became slightly grave. First, ask Galaxy Venerate what he intends to do. This behavior by Galaxy Venerate led Fu Su Venerate to easily associate it with the decisive battle. However, Fu Su Venerate still harbored doubts. Normal contests for treasure lands in decisive battles revolve around colossal core pillars. Even if there are no colossal core pillars, they focus on core pillars at the central position. Only thus can one advance or retreat freely. But according to Lace of Venerable, the position where Galaxy Venerate appeared was on the edge of the treasure land? All right. Lace of Venerable nodded, but then immediately showed a dazed expression. What's wrong? Fu Su Venerate noticed and immediately inquired. He vaguely sensed something amiss from Lace of Venerable's demeanor. Fu Su Venerate, the main battle body I stationed at that core pillar has fallen. Lace of Venerable gathered his thoughts promptly and spoke up. Fallen. Fu Su Venerate was also a bit stunned. So quickly? Bear in mind, Lace of Venerable is a top-tier peak venerable of the Thunderclap Ancient Country, a life form born from boundless thunder. Such a strong being with great survival skills, even Fu Su Venerate to completely annihilate would have to do so gradually. What about the Thunderclap Ancient Country's backing weapon? Fu Su Venerate immediately inquired. Didn't have time to use it. Lace of Venerable swallowed hard, unable to help but continue. That Galaxy Venerate, Lace of Venerable's tone hinted at fear. Didn't have time to use it? Fu Su Venerate fell into silence. With the mental will of a top-tier peak venerable, an ancient country's backing weapon can be activated with a single thought. As for not having time to use it, it meant there was no reaction from start to finish. How is this possible? Top-tier peak venerable, without even having a chance to react, just perished? Fu Su Venerate's mind was shaken, hard to calm. Even the strongest venerable also holds the ancient country's foundational weapon, and top peak venerables have enough reaction time. As for not even having a chance to react like now, Fu Su Venerate's heart was in shock, and the other peak venerables present were equally unsettled. Lace of Venerable's encounter was too bizarre. How could a dignified top peak venerable not even have the ability to react? This is too absurd. Could it be that the Galaxy Venerate has reached the primordial ancestor level? Fu Su Venerate. At this moment, the Lingon Venerable Sage of the Deling Ancient Country suddenly spoke. That Galaxy Venerate appeared next to the core pillar I guard. You must be careful. Fu Su Venerate was startled, immediately reminding. Although the distance between the two core pillars was rapidly crossed by Galaxy Venerate, Fu Su Venerate had no time to think about it. Lingon Venerable Sage nodded, but the next moment his face turned pale. What happened? Fusu Venerate realized something was wrong, immediately asked. Fallen. The main combat body has fallen. Lingon Venerable Sage's voice trembled slightly, with Lhasa Venerable's prior misfortune. He thought he was being very cautious. The foundational weapon from the ancient country was ready to activate at any moment, just waiting to see if the Galaxy Venerate wanted something to say. Yet he still died quietly, almost instantly as the Galaxy Venerate glanced at him, without a trace of resistance. Lhasa, Galaxy Venerate he. Lingon Venerable Sage immediately looked at Lhasa Venerable. Don't look at me. I also died very suddenly. Lhasa Venerable shook his head, still somewhat bewildered and not yet able to comprehend. Fusu Venerate, Galaxy Venerate reached my place. The Earth Venerable of Shenin Ancient Country immediately said. Don't hesitate. Directly activate the foundational weapon bestowed by your Shenin Ancient Country. Fusu Venerate immediately said. Lhasa Venerable and Lingon Venerable Sage's deaths made him tremble in fear. Buzz. A slight ripple transmitted, but was immediately suppressed, like a small flame just ignited, quickly extinguished. You? Fusu Venerate stared at the Earth Venerable. Dead. Earth Venerable shook his head, simultaneously said, I have already activated the foundational weapon, but the Galaxy Venerate is too strong. The weapon couldn't withstand it, directly shattered. Foundational weapon couldn't withstand? Fusu Venerate again fell silent. The foundational weapons of the various ancient countries, although far inferior to primordial ancestor-level weapons, were crafted casually by the ancestors themselves. Even the strongest venerable would need to exhaust effort to break through a foundational weapons barrier. Fusu Venerate, Fusu Venerate, the Galaxy Venerate reached. Fusu Venerate. As Fusu Venerate's mind was chaotic, below, various top peak venerables of different ancient countries spoke with frightened tones, all falling to the Galaxy Venerate, not even having a moment to react. Even with the previous top peak venerables' warnings, there was no change whatsoever. In just 3 or 4 breaths, 103 core pillars were seized and refined by the Galaxy Venerate. 103 core pillars, spread across nearly half a treasure land, yet lost in just 3 or 4 breaths. These 103 core pillars. Fusu Venerate's heart was shaken, faintly realizing something. A detailed map of the treasure land immediately appeared before him. Over 300 light spots distributed across the map, with a certain corner as the source. Large areas of light spots turned red, signifying they were seized and refined by Galaxy Venerate. The Galaxy Venerate is sweeping across, starting from the corner and pushing through all the pillars in the treasure land. Fusu Venerate suddenly reacted, whispering in disbelief. At that moment, Fusu Venerate's mind shook, feeling as if catastrophe was imminent. He looked towards the heights. Unbeknownst to him, a young man stood there with hands behind his back, overlooking Fusu Venerate and the group of peak venerables. Eyes squinted, smiling. Your turn. Chapter 1229. Ownership of the Treasure Land. Red Flame Venerable followed behind Lin Yuan, also overlooking the many peak venerables below. However, Red Flame Venerable's gaze was slightly dazed. Along the way, only he saw how Galaxy Venerate truly swept away the numerous top-tier peak venerables. That unstoppable crushing momentum almost made Red Flame Venerable think he was dreaming. Especially when many top-tier peak venerables directly activated ultimate killing weapons, the terrifying power burst forth, but in front of Lin Yuan, they still seemed like thin paper easily pierced through. It made Red Flame Venerable's heart tremble. Galaxy! Red Flame Venerable looked at the young man standing in front of him, his expression slightly dazed, finally understanding the meaning of sweeping away. Galaxy Venerate? In front of the third giant core pillar, including Fusu Venerate, all the peak venerables looked up, like a mayfly seeing the blue sky. In just 3 or 4 breaths, 103 core pillars were seized, and on the field, at least one main battle physique of top-tier peak venerables fell into Galaxy Venerate's hands. Knowing the despair and impotence faced when confronting Galaxy Venerate, Especially the later fallen top-tier peak venerables, they did not have the lack of defense the earlier fallen ones did. These top-tier peak venerables were very cautious, directly activating ultimate killing weapons, but still got crushed and shattered. Galaxy Venerate, what do you intend to do? Fu Su Venerate took a deep breath, steadied his mind, and asked. Even at this moment, regardless of how unbelievable, he couldn't reveal it. Otherwise, the morale of the many peak venerables on his side might collapse directly. What do you intend to do? Lin Yuan looked at Fu Su Venerate, shook his head, and said, surrender all core pillars. Compared to other top-tier peak venerables, Fu Su Venerate was harder to deal with. Lin Yuan was currently locking onto the location of his true form. Don't be fooled by Fu Su Venerate standing there. In fact, his true form was merged into layers of space-time, and hidden with the power of DeFu Ancient Country's ultimate killing weapon, making Lin Yuan have to work hard to lock onto it. The foundational killing weapon made by ancestors, when placed in the hands of top-tier peak venerables, shows a completely different power spectrum compared to when in the hands of the strongest venerable like Fu Su Venerate. Especially the ultimate killing weapon activated by Fu Su Venerate was not an ordinary foundational killing weapon. Surrender all core pillars? Fu Su Venerate's face looked ugly. That's impossible. Surrendering all core pillars equaled giving up the contention for this treasure land. For Fu Su Venerate, that was an unacceptable result. If it's impossible, then go die, Lin Yuan said in a serene tone. Before the words were finished, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed towards Fu Su Venerate. Rumblings, invisible and majestic power of spacetime swept through. Fu Su Venerate's expression changed dramatically, immediately sensing that his true form hidden in the depths of spacetime must have been discovered and locked onto by Galaxy Venerate. This Galaxy Venerate can so easily lock onto my true form? Fu Su Venerate was incredulous. He used the power of the ancient country's ultimate killing weapon to hide his true form's location. Even the strongest venerables of the same level couldn't lock it, equivalent to being innately undefeated. The strength displayed by Galaxy Venerate obviously surpasses the strongest venerables. Fu Su Venerate wasn't planning to use this move to counter Galaxy Venerate, but at least to hold on a bit longer. But how long had passed? Less than 5 breaths and his true form was found? Block! Fu Su Venerate's aura suddenly exploded. A surge of inexplicable energy ascended, all coming from the DeFu Ancient Country's ultimate killing weapon, attempting to counter Lin Yuan's grab. But unfortunately, the barriers formed by various inexplicable energies shattered easily under Lin Yuan's grab. But at least it sustained Fu Su Venerate for a bit of breathing room. As the strongest venerable, he ultimately exceeded the many top-tier peak venerables, not collapsing at the first touch before Lin Yuan. If you don't take action now, this treasure land will fall into Galaxy Venerate's hands. Fu Su Venerate immediately transmitted to Su In Heavenly Venerate, Spirit Prison Venerable, and other top-tier peak venerables. Before this, several ancient countries had completed transactions, fully binding together. If DeFu Ancient Country gains this treasure land, Shenin Ancient Country and Deling Ancient Country could still salvage a bit. But if Fierce Sun Ancient Country gains this treasure land, not to mention salvage, Shenin Ancient Country and Deling Ancient Country might not even make it out alive. Fu Su, don't worry, our true forms are on their way. Spirit Prison Venerable, Su In Heavenly Venerate, and other leading venerables from various ancient countries spoke solemnly. Although they were quite regretful at the moment, knowing Galaxy Venerate was so strong, they surely wouldn't have proposed such excessive demands, but since things had already happened, they had no choice. Only to join Fu Su Venerate in a desperate battle. Combining the forces of the leading top-tier peak venerables from DeFu, Shenin, Deling, and Thunder 4 ancient countries, holding ultimate killing weapons, to confront Galaxy Venerate. Rumblings. In the distance, Spirit Prison Venerable, Suing Heavenly Venerate, and other leading venerables activated ultimate killing weapons, attacking towards Lin Yuan from afar. Terrifying power burst forth, annihilating large portions of spacetime. All leading venerables attacked with full force, holding nothing back. The spacetime around Lin Yuan twisted, and all the attacks were like stones falling into the sea. He cast a glance at the leading peak venerable figures in the distance. No use at all? Spirit Prison Venerable, Suin Heavenly Venerate, and the other leading venerables' hearts trembled. With Fu Su Venerate desperately holding off the Galaxy Venerate, they seized the chance to launch a surprise attack. However, they couldn't even stir a ripple, let alone shake the Galaxy Venerate. This left the leading venerables in utter despair. Previously, when Lin Yuan killed the main battle body guarding them and seized the core pillar, they witnessed the terrifying attack power of the Galaxy Venerate. Not a single top-peak venerable could withstand the Galaxy Venerate even for a moment. Even activating their fundamental killing weapons for defense was useless. And now, the leading venerables were aware of the Galaxy Venerate's almost undefeatable defensive power. Their strike with full power utilizing their fundamental killing weapon was effortlessly blocked by the Galaxy Venerate. It was blocked, not dodged. The difference between the two is significant. If it was dodged, the leading venerables would feel a bit better since it would at least indicate that their attack had some effect, prompting the Galaxy Venerate to dodge. But directly blocking it meant the Galaxy Venerate didn't care about their attacks at all. Galaxy Venerate. Fu Su Venerate also saw this scene. His eyes vaguely swirling with golden power, and the power of time began to completely disorder around him. This was his strongest killing move, using a certain secret technique to combine two Tier 13 methods. Although it was far from true fusion, its power exceeded that of a single Tier 13 secret technique. Fu Su Venerate had never used this move since creating it, saving it as his final trump card. Time! After activating the killing move, pure strands of temporal power appeared in front of Fu Su Venerate. This power originated from the treasure vault of the Defu ancient country, specially refined by the Defu ancestor. Any time-related killing move, when bolstered by these strands of temporal origin source, would have its power dramatically increased. This is my strongest method. Fu Su Venerate looked towards Lin Yuan, as the disordered temporal power was spreading towards him. Setting aside the combined Tier 13 methods, just the strands of temporal origin source alone cost Fu Su Venerate an enormous amount of effort. If this treasured land wasn't so precious, and not related to time, aligning with Fu Su Venerate's path, he wouldn't even consider using those temporal origin sources. This temporal power? Lin Yuan also sensed the disordered time. For ordinary top-peak venerables, under the influence of this ever-spreading disordered time, they would likely succumb immediately, perceiving a moment where 1,000 years passed outside. Even the strongest venerable would be greatly affected, possibly losing this body unexpectedly. After all, this killing move wasn't just Fu Su Venerate's power but also borrowed the temporal origin source that only the ancestor could refine. But Lin Yuan. The disorderly time swept over Lin Yuan like a torrent crashing against a giant stone weighing tens of thousands of tons, unable to move him a bit. Want to affect me with time? If the ancestor stepped in, maybe. Lin Yuan gently shook his head. His foundational strength was immeasurably deep and heavy, precisely countering these time-related techniques. Time is like a flowing river, and a being's foundational strength is akin to the weight within this river. A stone too heavy can naturally ignore the river's impact. Still no use. Fu Su Venerate looked at the still-standing Galaxy Venerate and turned to flee without hesitation. Having even his strongest move fail to affect the Galaxy Venerate in the slightest, Fu Su Venerate knew the situation had been lost, with no hope of seizing the treasured land. At this moment, Fu Su Venerate wanted to exit the treasured land peacefully. Failing to seize the land might cost him even his main battle body. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the distance, other leading venerables and many top-peak venerables, as well as ordinary peak venerables, began to escape. Since you all attacked me, you can stay here. Lin Yuan's thoughts shifted, and his form suddenly turned into a blazing fierce sun, as an invisible power of twisted spacetime spread to cover all directions. Fu Su Venerate had not fled far before he was impeded by this twisting power, soon being obliterated by Lin Yuan's attack. The other leading venerables, top-peak venerables, and ordinary venerables had the same change in expression. Spacetime quickly twisted, leaving them unable even to traverse the void. Ah! Galaxy Venerate, I give up on seizing the land. Let us go. Many peak venerables sought mercy, knowing that although losing their main battle body didn't mean true death, cultivating a main battle body was no easy task. Especially considering this main battle body carried numerous weapons and 1,000 years' worth of gains from this treasured land. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Yuan did not hold back. He harbored no goodwill towards the Deling ancient country, the Shenin ancient country, and other ancient countries, remembering their extortionate behavior. Soon, the many peak venerables quickly perished. Red Flame Venerable stared blankly at the scene. Top peak venerables comparable to him crumbled like dust before Lin Yuan, easily erased. What is that? The many peak venerables of the Fierce Sun ancient country only just reacted, sensing the disappearing auras of the peak venerables, their hearts filled with shock. Man Kuan Venerable of the barbaric wilderness country was about to find the Galaxy Venerate to discuss how to deal with the Da Fu ancient country, but witnessing this scene, his mind was in a daze. Is this the Galaxy Venerate? Chapter 1230 Invincible Venerable Galaxy. Lin Yuan stood in the void, resembling an eternal fierce sun shining, and as the divine ability world operated, one peak venerable after another was extinguished and fell. In no time, the surrounding heavens and earth were completely clear, leaving only numerous weapons, treasures, and rare items floating around. Before stepping into the Chaos Realm, my strength was on the same tier as the strongest venerables like Fusu Venerate, perhaps only slightly stronger. But after entering the Chaos Realm, the essence of my life transformed. The so-called strongest venerable? Simply no match for me. Lin Yuan thought to himself that if not for the fact that time and space operated independently within the treasure ground, long-term activation of divine ability world would conflict with the time flow inside it, thus affecting the future nurturing of rare treasures within the treasure ground. Lin Yuan did not need to refine each core heavenly pillar. He could directly envelop the entire treasure ground with his external universe. It was only when Fusu Venerate and the numerous peak venerables scattered and fled that Lin Yuan temporarily suppressed them with his external universe. Due to the short time of Divine Ability World's activation and Lin Yuan's carefulness, it had no impact on the treasure ground. Phew! Lin Yuan slightly moved his mind, retracted his external universe, and also collected the spoils left by the numerous peak venerables. This time, having demonstrated strength beyond the 6 ancient countries' understanding, Lin Yuan was already prepared with explanations, attributing it to the ancestor bloodline at the Venerate level. As the first in this source world to excavate the ancestor bloodline to the heavenly Venerate level, besides Lin Yuan, no other Venerate knew the effect of excavating the ancestor bloodline to this level. Isn't everything for Lin Yuan to decide? As for when the second heavenly Venerate level ancestor bloodline will be born, who knows how many millennia that will take. By that time, even if Lin Yuan hasn't reached the 13th tier, he would be deep in a time loop, unaffected by the outside world. In fact, even without using the heavenly Venerate level ancestor bloodline as an excuse, no one dared to question Lin Yuan. The 6 ancient countries upheld strength supremacy, and with the power Lin Yuan displayed, without the ancestors' intervention he was invincible, so those strongest venerables would not dare appear before him. As for the ancestors remain above all. Lin Yuan's strength surpasses the strongest venerables, but to the 13th tier ancestor, he is just a larger ant, not worthy of much attention. Currently, everything Lin Yuan possesses, except for the Myriad Realms Gate, would not draw attention from the ancestors. 13th tier inheritance? It originates from the ancestors. 13th tier weapons? The ancestors also possess them. Lin Yuan briefly examined the spoils left by the peak venerables and then stepped forward, appearing before the Red Flame Venerate. Galaxy Venerate. Red Flame Venerate was shocked, barely suppressing his emotions, looking at Lin Yuan with a respectful and humble attitude. I never imagined that your strength, Galaxy Venerate, would be so powerful, sweeping Fusu Venerate and numerous top peak venerables with your own might. When the Emperor mentioned you, I had my doubts, but now it seems I was foolish. Red Flame Venerate felt a bit ashamed thinking about how he once disdained Galaxy Venerate, and a sense of fear welled up within him. It's nothing. Lin Yuan slightly shook his head. Red Flame Venerate really had no personal agenda. His doubts about Lin Yuan's strength were for the sake of the fierce Sun ancient country. After all, competing for a precious treasure ground, the participating Venerate's strength must be up to par. If any participating Venerate became a liability, leading to the failure of acquiring the treasure ground, it would be detrimental to the entire ancient country. After Lin Yuan sparred with Red Lotus Venerate to prove his strength, Red Flame Venerate didn't have more to say. At this moment, Red Flame Venerate glanced up, suddenly seeing over a dozen figures appearing in the distance, which were the 12 peak venerables from the barbaric wilderness country. Upon sensing the battle here, more accurately, the one-sided crushing by Galaxy Venerate, the peak venerables from the barbaric wilderness country had no choice but to come over, though it was hard to believe. If they didn't come, would they wait for Galaxy Venerate to come to them? Galaxy Venerate! Mankuin Venerate was shocked. Through sensing the aura, he knew Fusu Venerate and many top peak venerables were swept by Galaxy Venerate. It was an absolute sweep. As strong as Fusu Venerate was, he was utterly crushed in front of Galaxy Venerate. Mankuin Venerate, although he didn't like Fusu Venerate, had to admit the latter's strength.
Mankun. Lin Yuan likewise glänzt Mankun Venerate.
The core heavenly pillars occupied by the barbaric wilderness country were mostly concentrated in the upper region of the treasure ground. When Lin Yuan started pushing from the corner, he hadn't encountered any core heavenly pillars occupied and refined by the barbaric wilderness country. Galaxy Venerate, our barbaric wilderness country is willing to hand over all the core heavenly pillars, Mankuin Venerate immediately stated. Having seen the end that befell the other ancient countries' peak venerables, with their main combat bodies falling one after another, under such circumstances, handing over the core heavenly pillars honestly was the right choice. At least they could preserve their main combat bodies. And also the gains of the past 1 or 2,000 years in this treasure ground. Those golden mists were collected significantly by the absolute venerables of barbaric wilderness country. All right, you can leave now. Lin Yuan nodded, not making it difficult for Mankuin Venerate. Against peak venerables from Shening country, Deling country, and other countries, he left no room for leniency because they were hostile toward fierce Sun ancient country, even demanding sky-high prices for dozens of core heavenly pillars. Thank you, Galaxy Venerate. Mankuin Venerate was slightly relieved. At least in this treasure ground contest, the absolute venerables of barbaric wilderness country had some gains and weren't at a loss. Compared to Fusu Venerate, Suin Heavenly Venerate, and Spirit Prison Venerate, etc., barbaric wilderness country fared relatively better.